I guess it's 5 o'clock. I'm not used to this being here this early, so I appreciate and thank all of you for coming this evening and welcome you all to the December 16th Yankton County Commission meeting. And now if you'd all remove your lids and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
The United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, as mentioned, we're starting an hour early this evening, and the purpose of that is we have our state legislators here this evening that we want to visit with them and discuss a few things and hear what their thought processes are also. But to start the meeting, I'd ask Patty to do a roll call.
Dan,
Here.
Don,
Here.
Wanda, Brian, John.
Here. We do have a quorum. Any financial conflicts of interest from any of the commission?
I do not.
I do not.
I do not. Can I get a motion to approve our agenda for this evening?
So moved.
Second.
I do have one thing that would like to, Tyler Larson, our state's attorney, mentioned that we probably don't want to discuss the Gayville fire petition later in the meeting. There was something not done correctly. So we're gonna omit item number 7
And number 6.
and number 6.
6 and 7.
Yes.
Got it. So motion to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Dan, second by Don to approve our amended agenda. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now's the time for public comment. Public comment is a time for persons to address this body on any subject. No action may be taken on a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an item upon which action will be taken. Each person has up to 3 minutes to speak. There shall be no personal attacks against members of this body, county staff, individual, or organizations. The chair has the authority to enforce this policy. Failure to adhere to these rules may result in forfeiture of the remaining speaking time. Per county policy, the Yankton County Commissioners will not engage in conversation or make statements during public comment. At this time, I would ask for any public comment. Seeing none, public comment is closed. We have to wait for 5:10, but both of our legislators are here.
Mr. Chair, what did you want for the format? Did you want to give them an opportunity?
I'd like the legislators to have them an opportunity to speak to us and then let us kind of fill us in on what they expect from the upcoming session, and then we can ask them questions or talk to them about it also.
Who wants to go first? Welcome to both of you. Thank you guys.
Yes, I very much appreciate both of you coming this evening, and welcome your comments on what you're thinking and looking forward to in the upcoming session. And I'm sure we'll have a few questions to ask when you're done.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you inviting us. I think it's one of the first times we've ever been invited, so I appreciate that. Obviously, the budget is always going to be a big item, and it always is. This year, we'll be dealing with revenue that isn't very strong, obviously. It's kind of one of those things that I think is interesting is that, during the time that I've been there when we've had years like this, and then all of a sudden we've been there when we had COVID and we had this big bunch of money. And the concern that I always had during that period of time as we were passing different legislation, and even as it occurred when we changed the sales tax number from 4.5 to 4.2, is when does the state really bottom out where you kind of really know where your economy is. And so I had that kind of concern when we did that. And so now we're at one of those points where, we're at where we're really at and, struggling as it relates. Obviously, we've heard a lot about different proposals as it relates to property taxes. It's interesting if you go back, I don't know how many generations back to in the 30s. It's interesting that the inaugural address addressed 3 issues, and one of them was property taxes. So, we can talk about all the different proposals that are, being addressed and suggested, but the whole idea of property taxes, there's nothing new about that subject. We're always dealing with it, and there's all kinds of factors that come into play as far as valuation is concerned and all the types of other things that come into play. And so one of the things that I think we need to always zero in on.
Can we interact?
Oh, absolutely.
So what would make congressional units think that property tax could be reduced when they continue to overspend?
I don't know how you can. I mean, it's, you don't only take into consideration what your revenue that's coming out. And I think you have to have economic development to do that. I think anybody that tells you something differently doesn't understand. And if you zero things out, as the governor has on education, Medicaid, state employees, you're really not zeroing out, because when you factor in inflation, you're going down.
You're just pushing it downhill to the
You're just
county.
pushing it down, and it's trickle down deal as it relates to the counties, and somebody else has got to pick up the tab, and that's just not right. Over the years, I've seen different legislation brought that would allow cities, and particularly the counties, to do a sales tax. And the thing that you always heard, well, you can't pass something that have the word tax in it. But the thing that I could never understand from a philosophical standpoint is, you remember President Jefferson always said, the best government is that closest to the people. And it sure seems to me, and I am willing to vote for it, I think counties should have an opportunity to bring that information to the people and let them decide. It's very much like the wheel tax, okay? With the wheel tax, each county has a right to determine how many wheels they're going to have to tax. Well, you look at Pennington County, which is very interesting, because you know how many wheels they tax? 0. Well, their people made that choice to do that, and that's perfectly fine to do that. But I think the cities and the counties should have an opportunity to make their case, as the school boards does, as it relates to their projects and whether they're going to bond something or not. The thing that I'm really most concerned about as we look at any kind of legislation that's being brought from a financial standpoint is that, with Governor Dugard and Lieutenant Governor Michaels, they did something remarkable that doesn't get enough publicity at all. And that is when they were able to get that AAA rating, right? I mean, that is one amazing thing to get done. I'm not sure how many states have that rating. I would guess not very many at all. But, that's one avenue where if an entity has to look in that regard, that's going to save the taxpayers, millions of dollars, not a couple thousand, but $1 million. And so from that standpoint, whatever is done from the standpoint, if, when we look at legislation as it relates to the budget and itself, we can't jeopardize that part of it. But you can't just keep pushing things down to somebody else and expecting them to, to come up with the cash to do that. And certainly I think we're having to look at, luckily from the standpoint, we were able to do the sunset thing as it relates to the sales tax that doesn't, comes off in 2027. And that may be an area there that one can look at of accelerating that and taking it off and going back to the 4.7 as it was before. Now, nobody likes being quote unquote taxed, but when you look at what it's doing to so many entities, and it isn't just counties and cities and schools. I mean, it's across the board kind of a deal. At some point, you have to pay your bills, and anybody knows if they've lived in South Dakota very long, we don't spend money just because we want to spend money. I mean, you know, you look at what does it cost to get a license, to license your car in Nebraska, 2 miles from here versus what we have here. And as the county commission, nobody's getting rich serving in the school boards or county, city employees. Nobody's getting rich on that. And certainly Medicaid has been a huge factor as it relates to the amount of money that is being used in our budget. And what's scaring to me is that we're getting to the point where, like the federal government, there's so many mandatory payments that has to be made out that your discretionary funds is virtually becoming nil. And so when you look at those type of things, I think that it's going to be a real difficult session, but you also have to remember too, the governor's bill is his proposal and the legislature proposes itself.
Mhm.
And you also have to remember it takes 2/3 votes to do some things as it relates to taxes.
Mhm.
And I think we have a very significantly split legislature where getting that type of thing done, as you saw with the prison, was a very, very close call. So from that standpoint, I think it's going to be really interesting. And then, you throw in the factor that it's an election year, and then you have a lot more publicity. And I will tell you what I've learned during the time that I've been in the legislature is this, and it may not be this year, but it's sure been pretty much across the board during the time that I've served. There's an awful lot of the legislation that gets the most publicity affects the least amount of people. And so I think one has to think about the things that we have been able to do. And I think we've been able to have a great retirement system that's 100% funded. And I think there's only maybe 1 or 2 states that have done that. We do have a true structural balanced budget that we will continue to do. But there's a lot of challenges out there. There truly is.
I get a report from GOED. I'm on that board at Pier, and they send out a monthly report, and to substantiate or to support what you said, I'm going to read rankings that South Dakota has in 2 areas. In the Fraser Institute's annual publication, Economic Freedom of North America, South Dakota ranked as the 2nd most free state in the nation. And the second point, the National Business Capital ranks South Dakota as having the best overall climate for starting a new business. And it goes right down the list with several other things that, we're doing it.
Yeah. Well, and you got to have that economic development to do that. That's how you grow, and that's how you help reduce your property taxes in that regard. So those are kind of my, looking at it at this point, there's a lot of concern, obviously, with the different proposals that the governor has as far as zeroing across the board, basically, in some sense. And so we'll have to see what we can do, but, cutting without, you can't cut without having something replace it. You just cannot do that. It's impossible. And
I had a question when you get a chance. So the governor left some funds that haven't been obligated yet. Is that correct?
14 million, I
That's
believe.
pretty, I got some ideas. So in that doesn't happen all the time. I guess we'd reiterate, at the county level, we'd certainly appreciate a look. I got our list from our auditor of our court appointed attorneys, and, I'll reiterate to everybody that South Dakota is the only state where the vast majority of this burden is on the counties. Every other state has said, hey, this doesn't work, and they've had different processes, not South Dakota, but half of 508,000, 410,000, 339,000. You can see that it just keeps going up and up and up. And we actually had to just do a budget supplement of $120,000 just last meeting. So these are costs that are unpredictable. I mean, you're an attorney, you know this. We don't know how to budget for them, and they're rising faster than virtually anything else. They're certainly outpacing our 3% or CPI. So we would appreciate a look at that, and
Mhm.
maybe it'd be great if we weren't the only state where this burden is almost entirely on the county, so half of that $14 million would be great. I know that's a big ask, but
Well, and it is
Mhm.
unusual that, that there's some money
Mhm.
kind of left over.
Mhm.
Early in the Dugard administration, there were a couple of times, but it wasn't, we were talking about 60,000 here and $75,000 there, and so that was, a pretty big deal. I will say that, during the time that I've served, it seems like ideas, it takes a while for them to work their way through. And as you saw in the last legislative session, one before that, some of those bigger court-appointed deals were like the triple homicide and some of those type of things. The state is starting to realize that's just too big of a burden for any county, regardless of what it is. And so they started doing a little bit more in that regard. And so, but it's kind of also like, how long did it take to get the seatbelt law through? It just takes sometimes to do that. And so I think one of the things that you see often happens in the legislature, somebody brings a really good idea, and if they can't get their entire bill 100% exactly like they want it, they give up on the bill. And it's a matter of progress. You get 25% this year, and next year you've got to work on it. And I think that's one of those particular areas that, you can't argue against the facts, right? You can't argue against the numbers. And I will tell you that in the 48 years that I've been doing this, I always thought heroin was the worst drug that you can get. Well, with fentanyl and with meth particularly, you can go on the internet and you can type in how to make meth, and there'll be a dozen more showing you how to do it, and I will tell you, the clients that I've represented, the meth, you use it once and it's gotcha. And of course, with fentanyl, you use it once and you may not come back either. And it's not just bad enough that you're using it, but they're stealing to get money to do it. So then you've got more crime in that regard. But I think the real fight's going to be is the groups that are for economic development and those that are not. And, sometimes you can have an idea from an economic development, and of course, there's going to be the good and bad side of it. But at some point you have to weigh the benefits and the costs on the thing. And you can't always just say no. I think that may work for Nancy Reagan, but it isn't when it comes to economic development, in my opinion. So that's kind of my thoughts at this point.
thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. My first comment is that 14 million, you and many, 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 many other people have ideas with that money. There's a lot of people that are salivating over that 14 million that the Dugard Roden has in his budget. But speaking of the upcoming session, I think what Mike had said, Senator Jamie Smith at the end of last session, he sits right behind me and he says, Lauren, hang on. It's an election year next year. It's going to be very different. He says how some representatives acted this year, you won't even recognize them in an election year. And so looking forward to it. Everybody's saying it's going to be wild. It's going to be interesting. And so we'll see. It'll be my first election year session. So looking forward to it. What's on the agenda for this session? And all I can say is property taxes, plain and simple. I was over in Gayville today at Valley Ag for their little appreciation meal and talked to a few individuals over there after I got done eating. And one of the first things out of their mouths was property taxes and talking about that. And like Representative Stevens said, it's nothing new, but I think for many people, it's to the point that it's a breaking point for them. If you listen to any of the testimony at the Property Tax Task Force, there was a lot of people who came and testified about their property taxes and how close they are to not being able to afford their home that they've, owned for many years. I know there are some proposals out there. I know, did you just hand this out to certain people?
No,
Did the crowd get it?
I got it.
Okay.
If anybody wants a copy
Yeah.
of 19, I got an extra copy.
Yeah, this is front, back, almost up back of just the proposals that came out of the task force for property taxes. So there's a laundry list of them. And you can pretty much put them into two categories. One, they're going to eliminate property taxes altogether, and it's going to go, up to peer or go to that receipt tax, or it just modifies property taxes a little bit. These are all going to have to be flushed out. Again, some of them, there's parts of them you like, and then there's parts of them that you don't like. And so it's going to be very interesting of how this, flushes through and how this all works out. The key is this, and this is the thing that I struggle with, is the fact that, we talk about property tax relief, and you've talked about this before. Majority of our property taxes go where?
Right here.
To the school.
The school.
All right.
Yeah, and so the school needs to be, that's the thing that is, some people are struggling with, is the fact that, we don't want to, schools have to be involved. If you want to have property tax relief, there's got to, the schools have to be at the table, and we have to look at that, because again, county takes what, 20%? 27%, yeah. And so you can do all you want at the, your county commission can do all they want with their budget. It's only 20% of your property taxes. I do know there's some districts out there, it's 70% of their property taxes go to their local school, out West River. And so they've got to be part of the table.
And while we're on that topic, and just for you guys as well, we had even extra meetings, and I would say we had very few people come in during the budget and say anything about their property tax. And then for tax boards in April, we had the lowest amount of people contest their property tax that we've ever had. And so I guess it's easy, for people to come to you guys and say, hey, it's as hard for me to defend property tax. I'm in a tough position, but why aren't they going to their city or their county and their school board during budget season and saying that? Because just not hearing that, I heard Representative Jameson say he went to the Sioux Falls city budget and not one person said anything.
Yep.
So
They're coming to you guys and
Yep.
saying it's an issue they should be coming to us.
Yep, exactly.
So I listened to the property tax
Mhm.
summer study
Yep.
board
Yep.
committee. And yes, you heard Jameson, you heard Odenbach,
Mhm.
you heard Rapid City people, legislators, you heard Sioux Falls legislators, but you did not hear one legislator from any other part of the state or anybody, any personnel come up and talk about property tax relief. I had Michelle come up with some numbers, and from 2020, which prior was COVID years,
Mhm.
to 2025, our total assessments in Yankton County, this is Yankton County owner occupied assessments, are up 37%. Total taxable value is up 36%. And here's where the rubber meets the road, because your assessment is here, your levy is here. When assessments goes up, the levy comes down.
Mhm.
Total from 2021 to 25, our total collected taxes went up 13%. That's 5 years, and we're allowed to go up 15% total for those 5 years. But you got to throw 2026 in here, because that's when the taxes for 25 are going to be paid. In 2021, property taxes for the Yankton County went up 1.8%. Now I hear people talking about their taxes going up 30% and this on an annual basis. The highest that our property taxes in Yankton County has gone up was in 2024 for payable in 25, and that's 3.5%. So when you're out there in a legislative session and I'm listening to that and I'm hearing people say our taxes are going up 30% and we're taxing people out of their houses, maybe I don't know that this is the case or not, but maybe they don't need, if they're on a fixed income, maybe they don't need a 4-bedroom house, or they don't have, they can come in and appeal to us when we have the meetings. And there's abatements out there available. All they got to do is fill out paperwork to get that accomplished. Now, I just have a problem with you guys in Pierre, you people in Pierre, legislators in Pierre, complaining that property taxes are too high when this is not the case in Yankton County. It may be the case in Minnehaha County, Lincoln County, and Pennington County, but it's not the case throughout the whole state. So I'm afraid that you're going to try to fix something statewide that is really going to mess things up for everybody else other than Minnehaha, Lincoln, Pennington County, and a couple other counties. So these 19 bills that are going to be presented to you, I just think that you need to figure out a way to distribute them equally rather than say it's a statewide problem, because it's not a statewide problem. And counties like Yankton and other smaller counties don't have this problem, where property taxes are taxing people out of their houses. They got to sell their houses because they can't afford their property tax. Tell me one person that has had to do that, other than a couple of representatives or senators that said their grandma had to sell their farm because she couldn't afford to pay her taxes.
I know what, I know, I'm not going to use their name, but I do know somebody who've gotten rid of their house and have moved into an apartment because they could not afford the taxes anymore.
And the reason, did they come to us and say, or is it Yankton County? Did that person live in Yankton County?
Mm-hmm.
And did they come to us to appeal their property taxes?
No, they did not.
Okay.
But again, I mean, this is the thing, is this is not something that
How much did their property taxes go up?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, yeah.
Can I say something too? In the fact that I agree with you in the fact that there are hot spots in our state that are really bad. But when you go and you ask legislators, you know, the 35 senators, the 70 representatives, I don't know one. I don't know one of them. I'm trying to think. I mean, I talked to all of them. I don't think one of them have ever said, gosh, property taxes are not an issue in my county or in my district. So, but that's what I'm going, I mean, I hear it. I hear it. I hear it.
You
from
and
people.
Mike and Julie could
Yeah.
go to work and say that
Yeah.
property taxes are not an issue in Yankton County. There are in some places,
Yeah.
depending on where you live. Yes.
I've heard it from people in District 18 about their taxes.
And
So
they don't understand their property.
that's what I'm saying. But I do agree with you in the fact that we have to be careful that we do not present a plan that, yes, benefits, you know, one part of the state over the other, that we can find something that will benefit the whole state. Yes, it may not be perfect for certain areas, but it's not going to be hugely detrimental. We've got to find something. And I know there are some proposals, you know, you talk about this, there's more than this even that are coming. And it's just a matter of going through there. And there's some of in there that are good. They're giving, credits to people with disabilities, people moving the age for eligibility of, senior citizens, things like that. So, we'll see what happens. But again, I agree with you. I agree.
I'll get off my soapbox.
No,
I love
that's-
property taxes.
Of
Go
course,
for it.
the simple way to solve the problem is just cut expenses.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I have,
Expensive.
this, if you didn't see this on one of your social media sites, Representative Hughes did a op-ed and wrote an article. 2017, the state's budget was $4.1 billion. We know what the governor proposed this year, or 2026, 7.3 billion. So I mean, that's the thing, is it's like, yeah, COVID money. Yeah. How many things, how many programs, how many things were funded, and then we're continuing to fund them. That's what concerns me about the $100 million coming for the next 5 years to every state, and then possibly more. Again, federal money coming in. What's going to be started in the next 5 years that we will be funding as a state after those 5 years are over? And it's coming down the road. I want to give you time for you guys to talk about what your concerns are. I don't want to take up all this time of me up here. Again, property rights is going to be an issue again with, data centers, wind and solar complexes that are being proposed. So that's going to be an issue again this year. And then also too, just the budget. I've heard quite a few, I've had quite a few people who have reached out to me, not just teachers, but also, our community support providers. State employees actually have contacted me and said they're concerned about the 0%. But again, like Mike, Representative Stevens said, that's the governor's proposal. The legislature is going to come up with ours, and then there's going to be a lot of walking and talking between third floor and second floor to see what we can find that 2/3 of us can agree upon. So, yep, I think that's all I have. I'd really like to hear what you guys have, what you guys would like to see for Pier, because that's why I'm here, is to listen, to see what you guys are, what's on your forefront of your minds.
Like was discussed before, I mean, with property taxes, we're restricted by state law. It tells us, when we have to assess, we have to assess when 85% of the value. But I think there's the breakdown that I see is that the assessments go out and people will say, okay, my home went from 200,000 to 250,000, right? And it's the law, the legislature sets that is what our assessors have to assess it. But just because their valuation went up, the levy is going down. But people see that assessment. So the assessment goes out, and then we go through our budget process. We find out what the local government needs, and then it's the assessment times the levy to get the taxes. But there's the disconnect in there when they get that letter and see their value has gone up, but their levy goes down. And a lot of times we're talking $20, $30, $50 difference, but people see that their assessment has gone up, and they a lot of times come in to contest their taxes and realize it's not that. So if there was a way that assessments could be actually tied to the dollar that's being paid, I think that would be so helpful, because right now it's a wonky system. And I don't know how we do that, but the feedback every year we have that happen. And sometimes properties, they will go up and the levy will go down, and they'll actually be paying less, but the value has gone up. It deals with the relationship with that. So that's some feedback that I guess I have. And like I said, with Mike court appointed attorneys, that's probably one of our biggest areas that I see of concern for us, because there is no way. How many murders are we going to have in Yankton County next year? None of us know, and we do the best we can. And our sheriff and the state's attorneys, those are all costs we have. And I know there's a lot of people discussing cuts to state government, cuts to local government, but I tell you, I mean, people want the sheriff out there. They want Mike out there sanding and salting roads on Sunday and everything else. If you really want to get people upset, start cutting services that they demand. And so our budget is pretty tough shape. And so I think, you've seen it and Mike's seen it. I don't know where we can cut anymore. Do you guys know? I mean, not without significantly impacting people's lives, which we know they don't want. I mean, Sheriff, how many people have said they see you patrolling too much? I don't think that I've ever heard that happen. If anything, they want more services. So I guess, anybody else have anything? A couple more things.
Mike, how much did we cut out of road budget this year?
26.
Yeah.
Million.
They're gonna start seeing that.
What I guess what has bugged me about the whole, but somewhat anyway, about the whole challenge we have here is that certain legislators say, we don't know what we're doing in the county level. We're wastefully spending. We're Yeah, that's crazy. Maybe some are. But don't make the message fall on 100% of them.
No,
I think there's a majority of the legislators that don't know what county government is like and what we do for the constituents of the counties. And it's not just Yankton, it's every county. You know, we have our state meetings and every county is in the same position as we are. Our legislators are telling us we're spending too much money. Well, where should we cut it? You know, we just cut $1.5 million out of the highway department's budget.
yeah, and that day, and I don't remember when it was, because it seemed like yesterday, but I know it was a while ago when we met in Patty's office and you guys went through the budget, and it was eye-opening. And that's the thing is, I think, yeah, more legislators, it would behoove them to take the time to sit down with their county commissioners and, you know, really discuss, you know, what these budgets are. And, you know, and not to say legislators do this, but I know the public, Mike and I were just talking about social media. You know, that's the problem too, is a lot of people rely on social media for their information, you know, and not actually calling the person up, whoever it may be, and saying, hey, what's going on? What are the facts? So.
One thing I guess I'd like to see too is, and I know you know this, Lauren, and the commission does, when we try to do things to save money, like we were going to collaborate with Bonhomme County on the emerge, there's roadblock after roadblock that the state puts up. And just so everybody know, they would have actually cost both our counties more tax dollars to work together than to not work together. And those are the types of things that we need to address with, whether it's with emergency management or other county departments. Some sort of fund, even one type money, again, I'm going after that 14 million, one type funding to help these counties work together. It just doesn't make sense that working together costs everybody more. I don't understand why that is. And like you had said before, there's, I hear from the national level, there's a lot of things are being pushed down, reforms to FEMA. I know Union County, our neighbor, is getting a lot of bills for the McCook Lake disaster. FEMA's not paying up and they're having to do that. We've had our share of disasters, and so we just want to make sure the counties aren't getting stuck with those bills. SNAP, Medicaid, all of those. The county is the payer of last resort on a lot, and we're already seeing, I think, an increase in medical bills that we're paying. We just did that $7,000 bill a couple meetings ago. That's tax dollars. When people aren't able to pay their bill, it doesn't get written off. It comes through us, and your property taxpayers end up paying for that. One of the issues too, I guess I'll keep going till somebody stops me, is some of these property tax bills, 216 and then 1235, they go after the county growth. And I'm having trouble understanding it. If a county is having economic growth and development and doing the things that we're supposed to do, then they get punished. And so they get a new housing development or a business complex, and then that growth is cut. That just doesn't make a lot of sense, because that's new growth, somebody coming in and building a new business. And so those are the types of things I would say. And then I gave you guys a sheet on the renewable energy. And again, I guess I can do a visual on this, but for the production tax credits, say it's $100, the county approves it, 80% of it goes to the state, right? So what's left is this 20%, okay? And then half of that goes to the schools, right? And so out of this whole dollar, the county gets 30% of the 20%, which is 6 cents out of the dollar. And it seems to me that the state, has so much money that they're cutting sales tax. Why can't we share the wealth on some of that?
Which isn't even really true, because we're also paying for things that are demanded of us to pay, like delinquency and.
Exactly. But with these projects I just had a meeting with state, and they're wondering, well, why aren't counties approving these? because we get almost nothing for, in some cases, they actually cost more than they get to develop. And those are the type of feedback that I think things that need to change, because otherwise, they're not going to get approved. So I think that's all I have, unless somebody has something else.
Well, I would.
Yeah.
On the positive side, I would say South Dakota is at the top of the list compared to the other
Yeah.
49 states.
Yeah.
In many areas, they're in the top 1/3 or better. So you're doing something good.
I take it back. I had one more thing. Utah, I was visiting with some county commissioners from Utah. They had a big problem with rural ambulances. And what did they do? Their state put together a state appropriation, and I can give you guys the website. And that appropriation went to volunteer ambulance people, got on the state health insurance plan, and it's been a huge game changer. They're at a point where they have almost too many volunteers to help. And it was very affordable. I heard nothing negative about that. So look that up. It's called the Utah Volunteer Ambulance Insurance Program. They don't get paid, but if they volunteer enough hours and get certified, they get health insurance. And it's been a game changer for the rural areas, particularly a lot of farmers, ranchers, and then their family who need insurance, or people who retire early. They volunteer, and it's been absolutely great for them. So.
I guess I just want to piggyback on a little bit of what Dan said, is the counties collaborating, and I just feel with the mandates that the counties are expected to pay, the juvenile delinquents, the poor relief, the indigent care, the court-appointed attorneys and things like that. I can't even imagine why the state doesn't think that they should collaborate a percentage back to the counties to support all of those mandates that they put on us. I get where, the state's attorney's office is a mandate, but at the same token, I don't see the state being on the hook for any of that. But the juvenile delinquency, the court-appointed attorneys, and I know the court-appointed attorneys, there's a fund now that they're going to start helping and are assisting some of those things, issues. But let's not stop there. Let's move on with the juvenile delinquencies. Why is someone from Nebraska, a juvenile from Nebraska, crossing the bridge, creating a crime in Yankton County? Why is that a Yankton County issue? I think that the state should assist in collaborating with the county. If it's 10%, whatever the magic number is, let's work something out together and come up with a proposal so that some of those funds, because if you boil that down backwards and assist in some of those expenses, that's definitely a property tax relief program. So.
Sheriff, did you have anything you wanted to say? Oh, okay.
Ryan, you got anything to ask Mike or Representative Mike and Senator Nelson?
Not at this time. Sorry for being late. It's been a busy day.
Okay. Wanda?
I guess I had one more thing, I guess. And I appreciate Senator Nell. I actually contacted on this, is that SB 187, and thank you guys all for supporting that. That was appropriated. We're coming up on 2 years ago, $7 million of funding. And I think it was a good thing, and it talked about the urgency of getting these cyber set up for the counties. But, here we are, and municipalities. Here we are, like almost 2 years after, and very little of that money is going out to address these threats. And I know the government is slow. I understand that, but that's been 2 years. I think that needs to get moving forward on that, because there are counties and municipalities that have experienced pretty significant cybersecurity attacks, and it's devastating. It did shut down Brown County's dispatch center for quite a while, and you know how that is. The ambulance doesn't go out, the police can't go out, and so I don't know what's holding that up. I thank you for looking into that, but maybe that needs a nudge. So that's what's it? Go ahead.
You know, on my way in here, I was thinking about that, is that that's one bill.
Yeah. Yep.
How many are there sitting out there? Because we had the opioid, there was a meeting last week I was listening to, and they're talking about the money from the federal money from the opioid and how long that's being taken, you know, and that's the thing I thought of that tonight is like, how many of these are sitting there?
Mhm.
Because yeah, like you said, it was passed in 2024, right? Which would have been, yeah. And so that would have gone into effect in July, probably. And now it's been
Mhm.
2 years now, and it's only been, what did they say? I think 87,000 has been spent, 200.
About 200 out of the
Yeah.
7 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was sitting in that room and they talked about the urgency and yeah, we're almost not quite 2 years, but it needs to get taken care of and so, yeah. Thank you guys for that.
So I don't know if this would be appropriate, but we do have a couple of city commissioners here, and I don't know if the representative and the senators or legislators that are here are going to address the city before the session, but Ben or Brian, do you have any questions that you'd like to visit with or issues that you'd like to visit with the legislators that are here this evening? Okay,
Thank you guys for coming, everybody.
thanks. You know, Mike.
Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you guys.
Thank you both for coming and appreciate everything that you do for us.
Thank you.
It's a,
Welcome
we'll
to
take
you
a,
guys from the city as well. So
take a short break.
I see you hiding there. Mr. Birch. Yeah. Welcome.
Let's take a 10-minute break now, as we did start a little early from our normal 6 o'clock meeting. So we'll take a 10-minute break and we'll get back into our regular session.
So you're gonna make.
Gotta need a motion to take that break. Can I get a motion?
So move.
Got a motion by Don, second by Dan to take a 10-minute break. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Motion carries. Okay. Make it a motion to move back into regular session.
Hedrick moves.
Got a motion by Don,
Second.
second by Dan to go back into regular session. Our next,
Vote.
need a motion to move back into executive session. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. I think we got enough city officials here that we can move forward 5 minutes ahead of time.
Do we want to?
Said he's on his way.
Yankton City is before.
Sorry. Yes, you can. It's not advertised.
So which one of you want to be the speaker? Okay.
Welcome. Sure, sure.
I also have handouts too from the packet.
Temporary city employee today.
Good afternoon, County Commissioners. My name's Lisa Yardley. I'm the Finance Officer for the City of Yankton. Tonight, we have several commissioners. We also have City Manager Amy Leone and IT Services Director Dwayne Johnson to help answer questions. I'd like to approach the commission tonight to address the E911 fund. So in the handout that you have, there's quite a history with the 911 fees. In 2024, there was a state action where they increased the E911 surcharge from $1.25 to $2 per phone line. So that was in response to it costs a lot of money to operate dispatch. So we're here tonight with the Yankton County has a cash balance in their current E911 fund of over $550,000. That's $551,138 as of November 30th. So tonight we'd like to request a cash transfer of $500,000 to help alleviate some of our general fund transfer that we see. So I think it's another also important thing to note that it's important that we fully utilize this new revenue. So with that extra $2 surcharge, we're looking at a little over $250,000 actual increase in revenue. So that's kind of why I believe Yankton County does have a higher cash balance at this time. It's just because there was extra revenue versus budget expenditures on your end. So that's kind of why we're here. If you look at the second page in your handout, it does include a City of Yankton revenue sheet. So that total revenue received so far this year does not include Q4, which is the remaining $37,500. That's still expected to come from Yankton County for the Q4. And on the third page, it shows the expenditures. So as you can see, a main component of our budget is personnel. I mean, we need people there. We got 24/7 hour on call. Other operational costs, Dwayne may be able to explain in further detail. But so far this year, we've spent over $803,000 versus only receiving $215,000. So right now we're at a deficit of over $587,000. So that doesn't include December wages. So for 2026, at this time, I'm estimating a general fund transfer about $621,000. So, and to give some history on the city general fund transfer, 2024, it was $669,000. 2023 was $578,000. 2022 was $644,000. So on a 4-year average, about 78% of the Yankton County dispatch services are supplemented by the city's general fund transfer.
But 92% of the calls that go to the call center for the ambulance service is from within the city. Just say,
And those call statistics, I'd have to pass the buck on that.
I know, I'm
Yes.
just,
Yes. And-
For their viewing audience, I just want them to know.
Yeah, and the city doesn't charge the ambulance service any extra cost for doing the dispatch services.
Yeah, I think it's important for everybody to know, and Patty back me up, is that this funding that we get can only be used for dispatches that can't be transferred to the highway fund or anything. It has to be expended with that. And we do appreciate the city has taken over the dispatch center. And I think it's absolutely vital. You dispatch the ambulance and the city police and the fire and the ambulance, and I think you do a great job from what I understand. So this is a good contribution. The county is the one by law who gets this fund, and it seems right that it goes to where it needs to go, and it can't be used anywhere else. So
So let me ask you this, the 37,000 that you announced or mentioned also, do you want that on top of the 500 now, or
That's,
do you want to leave it there for seed money?
that's preferable, is to have the 500,000 on top of the quarter for already allocated amount. So it'd be an initial budget supplement of 500,000 is what our initial request was. And you know, another food for thought too, is we don't want to give the state any impression that these 911 funds aren't needed, because they are. We do have, our dispatch is looking at being over $1 million budget. I know, there is a big capital project coming up planned for over $200,000. So I don't know the exact details on that. But we do have capital costs upcoming too that we'll need those funds for.
Lisa, has there been any talk, because I was actually in the hearing in Pier when this was brought up. Is there any talk about consolidating the PSAPs? I know that was some of the people that were not supportive of this. That was their hang up, is that they didn't figure there was enough consolidation happening. And I know Clay runs a good dispatch center, but have you guys spoke with them about?
I'm not familiar enough with that, but I do know someone on the board.
Yeah.
Good evening, Commissioners. Amy Leon, City Manager.
Welcome.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to all of you. I happen to sit on the E911 board, and consolidation is something that we encourage of all PSAPs, and something certainly that our PSAP locally in Yankton is receptive to and are open to. So we're not going after PSAPs, because we also know that people are protective of, you know, what they have, and they're proud of what they have. But if somebody is, you know, looking and approaches us, we'd certainly consider that and be open to that. If it would work within the confines of, first of all, what we have for staffing and what we have for equipment, we'd be open to that on a contractual basis, and we'd have to talk through that, and that would involve the discussion as well with their county officials and our city and county officials as well. But yeah, we're open to that, and that's, I think, the goal of the state, is to look at you know, those regional centers now that the technology is there and available.
Thank you.
Any questions for Lisa from the commission? Hearing none, I'd like a motion to approve the 537,000 and change.
Discussion within the.
well,
please.
I have a question.
Just the 500,000.
Okay.
Was the agenda amended? Was the agenda amended to include that or take it off? What?
It's on.
I see it's on there, but well, that's the problem though, because you can't retroactively amend it. So they're going to have to wait until next meeting, which is, I think, the 29th, the special meeting. Not to be the bearer of bad news, but I typically am.
I was not aware of that. Okay, so we're postponed until the next agenda, I assume.
Which will be the 29th.
And I don't,
Okay.
I wouldn't imagine
At
they'd
the
have to.
beginning of we'll approve it at the beginning of the meeting, because we'll be doing late claims.
Okay.
So that'll be in with the late claims.
Okay.
Just to, so I'm clear, so I can communicate with my commission. Our agenda item got removed from the agenda?
No, I said 6 and 7, but it should have been 5 and 6, right?
5 and 7.
Five.
5 and 7.
Or
No, it should have just been 7.
Should have been 7, but at the
6, 7.
beginning,
So Amy, they made a motion to amend prior to the approval of the agenda, and they said number 6. So
6, 7.
erroneously.
6, 7.
So
you'll get it in 20.
Understood, understood. I just want to make sure I can be clear with them, so.
We just want you to come back. We enjoy
You just
your
like us, don't
company
you?
so much.
I know you do.
I
Okay,
just want to torture you.
understand.
Also don't want an open meeting.
Open, just, commission discussion too.
Okay,
Is it in the budget?
Yes.
What amount?
It's not in the, but we'll have to supplement.
It's a
because It's not in
pass-through.
the general fund.
It's a pass through.
It's a fund that these dollars go to.
And that's what there is an item on the agenda to supplement. We have to supplement the rate account, which is not in the general fund, and the E911 fund. We'll just do that so we can advertise and then we'll be ready.
And those funds come from?
The rate is, that's affect for the roads and stuff for the townships. Yes, that's not from ours, that's from the government.
and the E911 funds come from the E911 phone call.
Surcharge.
The surcharge.
There's a surcharge on your phone bill that funds that
Yeah.
fund.
So it's just transfer.
It's a transfer, correct? And we're sorry that happened.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in support of it, so we do it every year.
We never know exactly how much we're ever getting from that surcharge, so it's always a.
Yeah.
Loss.
Especially with,
Yeah.
the raising of the.
Yeah, raising the rate.
Yeah, it's difficult to anticipate how much revenue is actually going to be
Yeah.
And
received.
when they initially passed it, it was temporary. It had a sunset clause. And then last
Correct.
year we removed it. So it could have, if they wouldn't have removed the sunset, it would have gone away and gone back down again. So, which would have been terrible.
Thank you for your time.
Very happy to see you all here this evening prior to Christmas, so we can wish you all a Merry Christmas.
One thing we can consider since it was amended, and we can talk about this and coming back onto your agenda is perhaps, putting into a resolution a certain percentage, that like a 90% transfer regularly. So there isn't an ongoing, having to come back ongoing, but we can talk about that as we,
Yeah.
I guess on the
Yeah.
29th.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for your understanding.
They're good.
I know.
Juvenile study?
I apologize, sorry.
Juvenile detention study. We have Tyler Klatt and Preston Chrissy, Sheriff Preston Chrissy. We also have Journey Construction and CWP Engineering.
Wait 1 minute.
No, go.
Okay. All right. Members of the commission, the community leaders, and members of the public, thank you for allowing me to speak with you guys tonight. The idea for this proposed juvenile detention feasibility study came into focus shortly after I took office as the Yankton County Sheriff on January 3rd, 2023. After being sworn in, one of the first trends I noticed was a significant year-to-year difference in our juvenile detention holds, and more importantly, the growing financial burden those holds have placed on Yankton County taxpayers. To better understand the scope of the issue, I reviewed the historical juvenile detention costs dating back to 2013, and what I found was eye-opening. So in 2013, our cost was about $30,875. And then in 2014, it dropped to $19,381. And in 2015, it was $16,515. By 2016, the cost increased to $38,000. and then followed by 45,178 in 2017. And then in 2018, it was 42,489. Then came a sharp rise to 114,000 in 2019. In 2020, it was 201,540. 2022, 95,084. 2023 is 179,280. And 2024, this is our largest, was last year, 272,027. And then in so far this year, we went down to about 142,000 so far. Now, these numbers reflect more than just dollars. They also reflect the system that is increasingly expensive and increasing distant from the youth and the families we serve. With Juvenile Detention Center holds expected to increase from approximately, which I just got a thing here tonight. It's going to go to $522 next year, which I'll talk about that here at the very end. Our holds are expected to increase in January 1st of 2026. I believe it is time for us to reevaluate how Yankton County is handling juvenile detention. After many discussions over the past 3 years, I came before the commission on February 4th, 2025 to request your support in making this feasibility study possible. I appreciate your willingness and explore the issue thoughtfully and responsibly. Since that time, we have been working closely with our partners, Tegra, Carlson Pavandra West, and Journey Construction, and we have finally reached a point where we can present a comprehensive and informed proposal. I began my law enforcement career in 2010, and I have served not only as a patrol officer, but also as a school resource officer. That experience has given me firsthand exposure to juveniles, both their best and their worst moments. I have seen that what works, and I've seen what's failed. Since the introduction of Senate Bill 73 in 2015, I have observed a noticeable decline in accountability, respect from juveniles towards their parents, law enforcement, school staff, and business owners. As a community, as a county, we need to get back to the basics. We need to provide structure, accountability, and support to set our juveniles back on the path towards success, responsibility, and respect. The proposed juvenile detention center is not just about secure housing. It's about keeping our juveniles local. It's about maintaining their mental health and physical well-being. It's about improving access to Yankton County diversion programs, maintaining close contact with families, their attorneys, and keeping youth academically on track so they can successfully complete their education. These efforts represent what I refer to as soft savings, savings that may not always appear on a balance sheet, but have a real and lasting impact on public safety, recidivism, family stability, and long-term outcomes for our youth and our community. To ensure this proposal is well-rounded and community-focused, I compiled a team of local leaders to serve on our Juvenile Detention Center Feasibility Study Committee. That team included myself, Chair John Marquardt, City Manager Amy Leon, Yankton Police Chief Jason Foots, Yankton County JDAI Coordinator Alec Martin, Lewis and Clark Behavioral Executive Director Dr. Thomas Stanich, and Yankton School District Superintendent Dr. Wayne Kindle. Together, we are committed to presenting you with a thorough and a transparent study that positions Yankton County as a leader in our state. It is also important to note that I presented this proposal to our surrounding counties. I've been to Bonhomme, Clay, Hutchinson, Union, and Charles Mix, and all have expressed interest in utilizing this facility if it becomes available. Additionally, Tyler Klatt with Tegra attended the Turner County Commission meeting where interest in utilizing the proposed facility was also gauged. The proposed plan includes both staffed, secured area and a staffed lockdown area, ensuring flexibility, safety, and appropriate supervision based on the needs of each juvenile. So in closing, I respectfully ask you to consider this proposed plan not just as a facility, but as an investment in our youth, in our public safety, in fiscal responsibility, and the future of Yankton County. So thank you for your time. If you have any questions, The one thing I want to refer back to, Juvenile Detention Center in Sioux Falls, back on July 8th, sent us a proposal for us to be charged $555 per night to house a juvenile up in Sioux Falls. Obviously, we've done the study. I think there's some talk in Sioux Falls about what we're presenting down here. We've received a letter December 1st of this year. Now they've recanted the $555 night charge, now down to $522.02 for JDC holds. So since I've been chair for 3 years, they've never recanted their costs. But I think after this feasibility study, they have. So pass it on to Jeff.
$20 a, was it 20?
It was 555 originally, back on July 8th. Since December 1st of this year, they sent us a new letter that they're going to lower it down to 522 now, starting on January 1st of 2026. So they recanted it, and I think it's because of what we're proposing.
Oh.
I did work in investigations a little bit, so.
Good evening and Merry Christmas. My name's Al Pavander. I'm with Carlson West Pavander Architects. I've been involved in justice projects for over 35 years. We've done a number of juvenile facilities. What we tried to do here with the committee, and we've refined this over a series of meetings, is to create an addition to the existing Yankton County Jail. And we want to take advantage of the fact that in the jail you have a master control, which controls all your door locks, et cetera. So we believe that we can use the existing master control facility in the jail to control the security apparatus within our proposed facility. There is also an indoor recreation facility in the adult jail, and we think through scheduling that we can have some economy by having the indoor recreation to be operating by both the adult and the juveniles, not at the same time, of course. The juvenile facility that we're hoping to do is about a 6,000 square foot facility. As you see here, it's an addition to the existing jail, which is in the white shaded. The building itself that we're proposing is the tan colored building. Let's see if I can get this right here. Scroll this up a little bit. Okay. So what we're proposing to do is have a 8-bed staff secure facility. And the reason it's 8-bed is because best practice has that you should have a staffing ratio, permanent staffing ratio 24/7 of at least one staff member per 8 juveniles. Once you go to 9, then best practice is to have 2. So we've got an 8-bed staff secure facility, and you see that on the right side, which is the tan color. And the other element that we have, and that's in the more yellowish colored block, is an intake area that can handle juveniles who need to be settled down. They may be coming in violent or on drugs or assaultive, and so we have a 2-cell holding cell for that. We also have a 3 to 4 person overflow secure area. So what we have then is 8 secure beds, 8 staff secure beds, and 5 to 6 secure beds that would be more short-term holding, probably as much as 96 hours. The blue portion there is in the existing jail, and that's the indoor recreation area through a sally port. We would have youth go in there when adults weren't using that. Within the floor plan, we have a classroom. That's very important in juvenile facilities because they need to keep their class credits intact. We have a multi-purpose room, which allows for interviews, that allows for counseling. This facility also is meant to be for both boys and girls. Each one would have their individual sleeping room, but they could, that center portion of the tan is actually their day room, where they would spend most of the day. And then we have a small outdoor recreation area at the bottom. And I'm available for any questions that you might have. We can circle back to this. This is a view of the interior of the day room area on the left. And then there's a view looking in from the day room into the classroom area. So the facilities that we do today basically are have an ample amount of daylighting. They're anti-ligature, so that suicide risk is minimized. We try to get pictures of nature and graphics that are up high so they don't get vandalized. The facility that we do are very vandal resistant. They can take high abuse of youth acting out within the facility. So this is not what you would consider an adult jail. It's meant to be a calming environment, non-institutional. For obviously something that the sheriff mentioned, taking your kids out to maybe a larger metropolitan area. This is a more local oriented, safe and secure facility. And this is a picture of the entrance of the facility. So it would have its own identity. There would not be the stigma of taking our kid is in the adult jail. It would have its own separate entrance from the street, and would be allowed to have landscaping and some privacy in the sleeping rooms. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to.
Good evening, David Noonheisen with Journey Construction. I'm gonna try and advance this. So it's been our pleasure to work with the group to understand what this facility could be and use some limited information to come up with a conceptual estimate. And that's what you see before you tonight. The conceptual estimate is based on some really early drawings, not necessarily even schematic design level drawings yet, but we use a combination of some takeoff based on the information given to us, as well as some historical data. And then they generously help provide some mechanical and electrical narratives on what is necessary on the mechanical and electrical side as well. We're also holding a 10% contingency for unknowns that would arise if this is approved tonight and we move forward into design. And the intention is that that 10% contingency would be whittled down over the various stages of design as we move forward. We're also using an assumption that the construction of the facility would start in the spring of 2027, based on some dates that were identified for a potential approval, maybe a vote, and some design time that would take us well into 2026. And that would allow us to be able to plan for a start in 2027. So as you can see, the total there is about $4.4 million. And if you have any questions, I can certainly answer those questions. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to Tyler to continue on. Thank you.
What was your name, sir?
Dave Van Nieuwenhuizen.
Common spelling.
Yeah,
Hey.
it's a long form of Smith. Thank you.
I do have a question on that, like permitting and excise tax. Would, the state wouldn't waive contractor excise tax on a county project like this?
We've seen it both ways, so we
Okay.
included it now to make sure that it was covered. And we would want to see.
City's still here? Okay. Well, do the cities usually waive the permit fees as well, from what I've seen with?
We've seen it both ways
Okay.
and, so we thought it would be, to everyone's best interest to make sure that that was included in a comprehensive
Okay.
analysis.
So that number could potentially be lower, because I know we have a good working relationship with our city, and I would think they would think this is beneficial as well.
And that's part of the contingency fee, so that may be,
Right.
that, like you mentioned, that could
It
be
could be whittled down over time.
whittled
Yep.
down over time.
Well, that's a big number, and if that can be lower, I mean, that's significant, is what I would say.
Yep.
So what, do you have that broken down, what
I don't have it.
it would be and what the contractor excise tax would be, what, 2%?
Excise tax is about 2.1% roughly, because you pay excise on excise. And I don't know exactly what we put in for permit, but all totaled it with the contingency of 10%, and the contractor's fee, it comes to that 848,000. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And what, I guess one more, what would we need to do to get the state to waive that? Is there timelines for that?
I think it goes through the city attorney's office and the
For
county's legal.
the state to
Yep.
waive the contractor's excise tax?
Yeah, that's the way we've
Okay.
handled it in the past. It kind of starts at the local level and it works its way up. Yep.
Tyler Clyde with Tager Group. Commissioner Clemish, just to build off your question on the building permit, we've seen it with Turner County, Cottington County, and Minnehaha County, where they've
Yeah.
either waived it or reduced it by a
And it
nice
would,
amount.
it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't make sense for taxing agency to pay tax to another taxed agency. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
So as Dave talked to the construction budget, it's important to remember that a construction project isn't just a construction budget. You have to consider a few other line items, which include professional fees. So that's your architect, your engineering team, your geotechnical work. If there's commissioning involved in the project, there could be, additional legal fees, construction material quality testing. All that being said, based on sort of the historical data that Tager has, we put together an estimate on the professional fees. Soft costs includes your things like furniture, low voltage, television screens, those sort of types of items. And then we also, as an owner, would carry a contingency amount for items throughout the design where it could be an owner change, it could be an unforeseen circumstance, but there's an additional amount of money that we carry there for the sort of, we know there are unknowns, we prepare for them ahead of time. All told, that gets you to a total concept budget of 5.9 million, which for easy discussion will cost $6 million. As part of this, we worked with Colliers, and Tom Grimman from Colliers is here too he'll be able to answer some of these questions much more intelligently than I probably will for when we talk about debt service. But ultimately what this project boils down to is a 17 cent per $1,000 mill rate levy for the bond redemption fund, or however the debt levy would be carried in the auditor's budget, or in the county's budget rather, but it comes down to about $17 per $100,000 of your assessed value. Now
That's just for construction, right? That's not for maintenance and additional staff and all that. That's just for the building itself, to build the building. Is that correct?
Yep. It's a good question, because that leads into the next thing, which is this isn't just a one-time expense. To operate this, there will be operational costs ongoing. So what we tried to put together is, as best as we could, forecast out over the term of the bond, what does it look like for the county to operate something like this? When you look at using the historical data that the county has when it comes to food costs for the jail, staffing costs, medical costs, and then the sort of typical maintenance and operations, comes down to around $286,000 for that first year. And again, these are sort of basic assumptions, perhaps maybe conservative, but gives the county a good basis of understanding of what this may cost on a yearly basis.
So are there would that include like teaching staff? Or is that separate, or?
That is separate.
Do you have any estimate on what that would be?
I don't. We talked to Minnehaha County, and the Sioux Falls School District doesn't charge them anything for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the reason why we were looking at co-located versus a separate building site is if we were completely separate, like JDC and Sioux Falls, we would have to provide our own education system. So they have like their own. So when a kid goes up to Sioux Falls, they would have to probably open enroll to the Sioux Falls School District if it's long-term. Here, the Yankton School District, if the juvenile is able just to go online, they would just do their work right in the JDC.
Sure, that include like special ed as well. I know when we toured that Rapid City one, they said a very high percentage of the kids that were in these facilities were on the special ed program. So that would include special education.
Well, I would like to let you know that we are in the Yankton School Districts, so
Yeah.
they would have to provide the services, and that's why Dr. Kendall was on that committee and being co-located.
And then for medical staff, what do you predict that you're gonna need for staff? Because again, when we were in Rapid, they did a medical exam when the kid entered and then when they exited. Would you predict the same type of thing, or what are you thinking?
So I talked to Dr. Stanage, also on the committee, was also very knowledgeable about this, is that a lot of these kids are already on Medicaid.
Mhm.
And so a lot of that stuff would be, we do have a nurse practitioner on staff that would be, but, short term, but if we had to haul the juvenile to a medical facility, they would still be billed through the family's insurance and all that stuff, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
One thing, when you get into the operational budget, that kind of becomes a guessing game in a sense, is what does the daily rate look like for a facility like this? And what I can tell you is you can kind of spin the math however you want to get it to that daily rate. These assumptions are all based off of Yankton County using their typical average use over the last 5 years. And that was just flatline forecasted throughout the entire 20 years.
What number is that?
That's about 440 bed days a year.
What is that, like average daily number?
It comes out to around $168 a day.
Yeah, but how many juveniles per day did the county have? I mean, do you have it in that number?
I don't know for certain, but it ranges between 2 and 4.
Between 2 and 4.
Yeah.
Got it.
I think the significant takeaway from this is, as this is a forward-looking project, that it's safe to say you're under $500 a day.
So are these assumptions that it's to capacity with 8, or is this that we're at the 4?
That's a good clarification. This does assume that you're at capacity, which.
Because all our fixed costs are gonna be the same whether we have 2 people in there or 8 people in there.
Correct. So as this is just to show over the course of the life of the bond, year 1 operating costs, that's debt service and operations, approximately $750,000 a year. At year 20, you're looking at around $900,000 a year for debt service and operations. Now, I know that has a lot of information, a lot to take in. I wanted to make it clear that by no means are we as a group saying, all right, what are you going to do now? The goal of this is we wanted to give you a high level concept of what this looks like for the county, give you something to think about. The sort of next maybe big muscle movement for this project is if this wants to move forward, to look at the June election, to have it be on that ballot. We understand an option for that to be moved up to a special election if there were an appetite for that. Obviously there's some costs that come into holding a special election, but by moving to a special election a little earlier, you save some costs on the back end with construction. And we can get into those cost savings too, but it's approximately $85,000 saved on construction costs, I'll call it, if you did move the election up to February, I believe is what we estimated it as. So that's the concept, the budget, sort of the high level. Happy to answer any questions you may have. Happy to come back another time and talk too, but open discussion.
So I think at this time is if there's questions from the commission, that now would be the time to ask those questions, because I think it's time that we've already spent the money for the feasibility study, and I'm not saying that we have to make a decision tonight, but the sooner we make the decision to move forward or stop at this point, the better it's going to be for those people sitting over there on that side of the room, because then they can move on to their next project if we're not going to do this, or they can move forward with our project.
How are we going to pay for this?
I'm
It,
assuming
it,
we're
it
gonna
appears that
do
it's going to cost $1 million a year to pay for it and
it's gonna
operate
be,
it.
it's gonna be done by a bond is what I'm assuming.
Well, the bond, I think, pays to build it. I don't think the bond pays to operate it. At least that's not what I was hearing.
It's not gonna cost $1 million to operate it once it's built.
Well, there was
Is that?
It's good.
what was the-
slide, if
the
you will.
operation cost?
there we go. Annual operating expenses. On top of the operating expenses in their bond of 467,000
That's
Correct. So the purple square
is
will
there.
be your debt
So-
service.
So it's only 750,000. My bad.
So
Just to point out, last year we spent 272,000 to another county. So, and then back in 2019 to 2020, the cost at the juvenile detention center was not nearly what it is today. It was about half the cost. And we had one bad juvenile that I recall. That one I believe was just about $200,000 that one was 114 for the first year, and then the second year was about 200,000. Yep, 114 for 2019, and then 201,000, that was in 2020. That's before all these price hikes. So it only takes really one juvenile to cost the county. When I went to the surrounding counties, such as Bon, Home, Hutch, because the Hutchinson County auditor, she pulled their statistics and theirs had doubled essentially 1 year because they had a bad juvenile. And she couldn't give their commission a hard number because it fluctuates so much. If parents could parent better, like you say, that would be fabulous, but it's unpredictable. And it's just like when they did the bond 20 years ago for the safety center, it was unpredictable. They predicted rights. I'm not saying this is.
And didn't you at one point indicate that if there weren't any juveniles in there, that you could use the beds for adults?
Yeah, technically, I mean, we would be able to possibly do that, but.
But if we have even one juvenile in there, you can't use it for adults,
Well,
correct?
if you get into hypothetical, so right now we're housing up to 40 US Marshals in our county jail. Safety center's paid off. We could eliminate the 40 marshals that we're holding and reevaluate the jail and not build a facility and do it that way too. I don't,
Or just keep the marshal people and keep making money.
well, the marshal amounts only supplement our budget, doesn't pay for a lot of it.
Well,
Now,
I get it. It's a
Yeah.
supplement though.
but if you look at surrounding counties like Clay County, if they send somebody up to juvenile detention center, they're gonna be paying the $522 now. Since it got lowered magically, they're gonna send their kid up to Sioux Falls.
And what are we gonna charge them?
Well, and that's something that we would have to consider, because when I came to you guys early this year, I changed the amounts for what we were charging the surrounding counties. On the Marshall ones, I negotiated that one to a higher amount, but that's something that the commission and I could check into what we would charge, up in Sioux Falls, the staff secured side of the building that I was talking about, that is like equivalent to a rise in Sioux Falls. So we pay about $300 a night to them, and that's Lutheran Social Services. So we pay for them to babysit our kids, and then we usually have to go up there the next day usually and pick them up and bring them back. But so there's price differences. We could charge 400, would Clay County want to bring their kids to Sioux Falls? Or would they just want to drive over to Yankton and drop them off here? I have no idea. But I did go to the county commission meetings and I did gauge interest. I did talk to Charles Mix County. Their budget for juvenile detention holds is just about equivalent to what ours are. You know, obviously our population is much higher than theirs, but their budget, they're paying all that stuff to Sioux Falls. So I talked to Sheriff Toller and their commission, and they would be more inclined to send theirs over here. I didn't make a motion on it. I didn't have any of the commissioners at all the different counties make motions on it. I just was on the agenda. So it was a discussion. But for the price, if you charge Charles Mix $522, would they drive to Sioux Falls or would they drive them over here? So hopefully that kind of answers some of the questions.
So I have one quick question on statistic, because so over the past years, do we know how many bed nights that we've utilized up in Sioux Falls? You know, how many children, how many nights, how many children? Do we have that statistic just as a raw number rather than dollar amounts?
Alec was supposed to come.
Didn't one of you guys say it was like about 3 to 4? Well, if it's average 2 to 4, you guys, one of you guys had that number.
We're much lower this year than we
Yeah.
were last year.
And so I was kind of looking like if we had a breakdown graph of, you know, each year, how many bed nights
Bed
we've
nights, yeah.
we had to utilize in Sioux Falls
Yeah.
for juveniles. That
And
would
I-
help us
I think it's gone down
Justify.
quite a bit.
justify the expenses here. The other quick question is, so we just got done paying off the jail. We're gonna be adding on to it. All these things have lifespans. What's our lifespan on the jail? And then what's the lifespan of this new facility?
I'll let the architect or the construction crew answer that one.
Well, depends on how robust the construction is. It's just going to be fairly robust construction because it's a secure facility. With proper maintenance, at least 50 years. You got to be replacing your mechanical system every 30 years. So if you keep up with maintenance, it should last well past 50 years. There's jails in our Midwest here that are still operating. They're over 100 years. I mean, we've got a prison in Lincoln, Nebraska that's been around for, I think, 110 years. They're just replacing it now. So 50 years is a good conservative answer.
Okay, thanks.
And the other thing to consider too is that we do have to, and this is another discussion for another time, but our generator, and Chair Marquardt's aware of it, but we have a generator currently at the safety center that's probably going to need to be replaced at some point also. So depending on what size we're going to need, that's also going to factor into a lot of it too. So the generators aren't cheap either.
Do you keep track of recidivism on kids that are in there?
That would be up to the JDAI, the State's Attorney's Office. I can't give you anything specific. I can tell you that, I've talked to Alec about some kids. We have them on diversion, some, and in my opinion, okay, I'm not speaking for Alec, but I don't think they should be on diversion now. They've probably exceeded their diversion times, or whatever offense they might have committed.
So they should have gone to jail then or be out?
In my opinion, in my speech earlier, there's got to be some accountability and respect. I think sometimes we don't get that with Senate Bill 73 from 2015.
I'm not convinced that locking them up helps them build respect. Maybe breaking rock and
Well,
cleaning ditches, maybe.
yeah, well, I mean, you can certainly be tasked with this program, but, and I'll give an example. We had a juvenile female the other day on track to graduate, probably is not going to graduate this year. So that's why it's so important, in my opinion, to keep them on track for education. But that's one of many. I was a school resource officer, for about 3 to 4 years at the high school. I've seen kids coming in, coming out. There was kids that would just walk out of school. You couldn't take them anywhere, and guess where they went? They just went off on their own. Either out of school suspended for long term. What are those kids doing? We, as Yankton County, we can't do anything about that. You know, keeping these kids on track is a big deal. I've seen kids that were trying to finish as a senior in high school, but they're at a sophomore level. You know, so there's a lot of stuff that, like I said, when I talked about soft savings, yeah, you look at the dollar amount and you can justify if it's going to be justifiable or not. But there is soft savings. I've had a lot of people approach me publicly, privately about something like this. I think it's strategically looking into the future for Yankton County. Now, like I said, could we wipe out the marshals out of our jail at some point and then reevaluate the jail? We can certainly do that too. But there's a staff secured area that we were presenting, and then there's a lockdown area for juveniles.
Maybe we could ask our legislator that's still in the room that if there would be a possibility that the state would look at funding, like I mentioned earlier, as a collaboration for juvenile detention, that the state, the legislator could present some collaboration on paying a portion of that $467,000 or $313,000
Well,
annual fee to assist us in taking care of the juveniles in Yankton County.
well,
And also know that it would help with Charles Mix and Bonhomme and Davis or Hutchinson County and Union County and things like that.
and
So it'd be a collaboration between several counties instead of just Yankton.
in my opinion, though, and this is no offense to the state legislators, I don't want the state involved in our project. Okay, I think that would be bad for us.
What would be the difference if they're paying us or we're paying them?
Anytime you get money from a grant, there's strings
I'm not
attached.
talking grants. I'm just talking.
Anytime somebody gives you money, there's strings attached.
Do you think, you talked about other counties bringing their juveniles to this facility. Do you think that this facility then would, or do you think averagely every night you would have 3 or more juveniles in this facility among all the?
Just speaking to
County.
Charles Mix County, theirs is, if not, probably more than what ours is.
Okay.
And it's a closer drive for them.
If that's the case, I guess, if we're already at 4, what's the highest number Yankton County's ever had at one time?
I think it was 4.
4.
Yeah,
Okay.
3,
So,
3 from one family,
So
I believe.
yeah, that was a different time.
and if everything increases and I see we have an increased budget, but it's also very likely over time, we're gonna have an increased number of juveniles as well. Has there been any talk or discussion about having this facility built for an expansion at a later time? I know visiting with you, some of the jails they build now, they build 2 stories or whatever, and they have the bottom floor open, but they know as the population increase, they're gonna have to open a second story. And I guess what I'm just thinking right now is if there is a potential for revenue, maybe we should overbuild it. Because I would hate to, if we build it for 8 and we already have 4 and we could have more. I mean, and we gotta grow with the future. Where are we gonna be at in 20 years or 10 years?
Hopefully with better parents.
Well, what, do you wanna make, you wanna make a bet on
Tired of
that?
hearing that.
I keep trying.
Yeah, but I mean, are we building for the future for expansion, or are we building what we can afford? And that's something that we should consider. I don't know how we do that.
I think, Al, didn't we at the beginning kind of have it kind of designed so we could add a second story?
Well, we talked about adding another wing horizontally, taking up more parking. That definitely could happen. I think, in my opinion, having 8 is including potentially having your neighbors contribute their juveniles to this facility. I think having 8 is gonna take you far into the future. It is. We talked about, you know, most you've had is 4, so it's obviously if Yankton County has 6 or 7 kids, you're gonna put your 6 or 7 kids in there, then the 1 or 2 beds left over can go to the surrounding counties. But the magic part of that 8 was that it's the staffing ratio.
Mhm.
So, you know, if we go and add another 8, then that would make sense and you could have 2 staff, because once you get to 9. So I mean, I think there's adequate expansion in this facility. This is a facility for the future. And it has the potential, nothing guaranteed, that you could get your neighbors to help.
You know, and when we talked, you talk about Rapids, visiting Rapids, they actually have counties that contract on an annual basis for 1 or 2 or 3 beds that they actually,
They get federal kids too.
Yes, but
And I will, since I went to the surrounding counties, their populations aren't as big as ours. And so they asked me specifically, would you require us to have a bed? I said, I don't know what specifically the commission would require. Because they might let's say Douglas County. I didn't go to Douglas County, but let's just say Douglas County gets included. You know, their juvenile detention budget might be $15,000 for the year. That wouldn't justify for them to guarantee them a bed. But it was brought up in a lot of the county, the counties, because Clay Counties isn't obviously as big as ours. Bonhomme isn't as big as ours, but if there was a guaranteed rate, you do it that way, then all of a sudden magically, then they might start bringing more than what we wanted. Then you've underbuilt it. So I think like what we have to do later tonight is for the juvenile detention center in Sioux Falls and that agreement that's coming up next, a flat rate or whatever, we decide if you guys move on, that would probably be your best bet. And I did look at the books at the sheriff's office when Sheriff Honoff was around. He was on the juvenile committee when they built the JDC. They had like some kind of collaborative thing. They were looking for the counties to pony up X amount of money, kind of like what they were trying to do the last time you guys, remember that bill you guys were going to get for $300,000 that you'd never see again, but it was supposed to be a discounted rate. They did that years ago. They tried it again, and obviously the commission at the time denied that, which was smart in my opinion. So I think a flat rate of whatever, you put your kids at. And just like in our county jail, we do house for surrounding counties. If I know it's going to be a problematic individual, we don't have to house them either. It's our building. It's what, so I've had to work with Sheriff Maggs on some over in Bonhomme County before. We worked it out, but
I guess to me, I'm a question that it's needed and it's probably thing that should be considered very seriously. But at this point in time, with us where our budget is and I just I can't see adding $800,000 to our budget until we know how it's going to come. So we have an idea where it's going to come from. If the public wants it and they vote for it, just a different issue.
If I'm not mistaken, what these graphs are saying is we are going to get a bond and we're going to have a levy for the roughly the 500,000 or 400,000 change. That's going to be a levy that's going to be a tax. That's essentially going to be essentially, we have the jail tax, the jail levy coming off. This would just come right on as the jail levy comes off, right?
Yeah, I think
thought.
Well, and don't we, some of us also want an ambulance fee and a road tax fee, and aren't those all just additional taxes?
Yeah, so now the operating expense of 280 to 320. We want that to replace what we are currently paying to Sioux Falls. So we're paying $300,000 to Sioux Falls every year. Well, now that's going to operate our facility instead. So the budget comes out of, what we want to see, I agree with you. What we want to see is our budget. We want to see our budget come out not being impacted in the negative direction. We want to see our budget come out in positive direction. That's why I was talking to you about, can we have this 3 or 4 juveniles in there every night? Because when I look at the numbers, that's when this facility starts to pay for itself. If we are running this facility with only 1 juvenile every night, we're spending more
Yep.
than what we are currently.
And I agree with you.
Yep.
I think right now the state has got a juvenile task force. I don't know who's all on that juvenile task force, and I don't know if that's being discussed. But Senate Bill 73 back in 2015, it's like COVID. Things have already kind of happened. You look at the prison, things have gotten pushed down on the counties. Ask how many state facilities there are for juveniles anymore. Does anybody know?
I don't think there's any, is there?
Oh, hey, look at here. I think I got somebody that might know. Why don't you go? Yeah, how many state facilities are there for juveniles anymore? From where it was, like
0, I think. Is there?
Yeah, when I was in high school, our principal would always give the first day of school lecture and say, if you don't behave yourself, we're going to send you to Plankington.
Yeah.
My
dad.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, you did too. Okay. Mr. Gilbertson. And so, yeah, that's one thing that we do not have any state facilities right now. We had one out Custer, and that's now completely gone. They've totally got rid of that. And so we do have privately run facilities throughout the state. I've toured the one in I toured the one in Parkston. I've toured the one up in Sioux Falls. Oh, I'm trying to think where else I've toured. And again, they're privately run, and it's again funding. It's the one thing that I hear over and over again from them is the fact that we could do more programming, but we need more money from the state. So there is a crunch. We have way more kids that need help, but we do not have the places to put them right now.
And Senator, I look at a chart like this, and this is just our county of what it will cost us. But and this is really it was a shift from the state to the counties, and then the state is also like, I don't understand why property taxes have gone up. It's because of a shift just like this from the state to the counties.
Yeah, I had a great conversation with the superintendent of Sioux Falls Schools here this fall, and that's one of his things is the fact that he feels that we were, 2015 with Senate Bill 73, it was promised that all this money that was used to keep Custer open, to keep Plankington open, that money was going to be then shifted to the local governments, the communities, to provide services for these kids. And he's been very frustrated because he gave me the stats. He says the money just is not getting to our local communities. And again, you need to be thankful for Yankton because we do have services that we can provide these kids. You get some of these counties, Charles Mix, you get some of these counties out there, there's just not places for these kids or the services that these kids provide. Just one thing that I toured the facility up in Sioux Falls. That's very nice facility. But one of the things like they said too, with sending kids up there from like Yankton, if they haven't figured out something to be naughty, they'll figure it out up there with those other kids and they make connections. And that's the thing. It'd be nice to keep these kids here locally, keep them close to their families. And again, you're spending all that money, sending them up to Sioux Falls. We could invest that money here locally with employing our own employees and things like that. But that's the one thing they said. If the kids don't figure it out yet, they'll figure it out when they're up there in that facility.
Well, the flip side of that is if they were a little closer to their families here, they might not be in JDC.
And the other thing too, on the transportation of the juveniles. We do get a reimbursement from the Department of Corrections. And don't quote me, I think it's $16 per hour for a transporter. But we pay our transporters $19 an hour, or a little over 19. And if it occurs at 2 o'clock in the morning or 4 a.m. or, 10 p.m., a lot of our transporters are more retired individuals that are helping the county out, in my opinion, by, coming to do transports. A lot of times we have to send a deputy that's getting paid almost $30 an hour to drive them up there versus a transporter. So yes, we get reimbursed from the Department of Corrections and we get mileage, but it's not equivalent to what the counties have to pay. Yes, the state may reimburse you, but it's not anywhere near what you need to get.
Everything's realistic, but we gotta have the money to pay it.
So here's my 2 cents worth and for whatever it's worth. 20 years ago, when the county commissioners that were sitting up here decided to build the jail for 128 inmate capacity, I don't believe that any one of those 5 people on the commission ever thought that they were going to house or need 128 beds to start with. Did anybody tell them that they were going to need 128? They built it for planning for the future. And then when the holds came about, the 40 some beds there came about, that utilized more. And I'm looking at this as a 20-year project that 20 years from now, we can be sitting here and saying, hey, it's full of local kids or local area kids. And we've done our part to make this happen. Now we can continue for 5, 6 counties. We can continue sending them to Sioux Falls and not producing or providing a home for our own kids that can stay at home. Basically, they can have intervention with friends and family here, where they're probably not having that in Sioux Falls. And if you say the jail, the sheriff's department, the budget is around $2 million total. Well, the jail generates $1 million. So the jail is not self-sufficient either.
Yeah. Now I will tell you that I did take some tours of some other facilities in the state of South Dakota and where they house their juveniles. Where I got the original idea was from Cottington County, who's actually building a whole new jail, and they're adding a juvenile detention center area attached to their jail. Now, when I walked through their Sally Port and I saw 2 pods to their main jail, they said, the state of South Dakota, the Department of Corrections says that's okay for a juvenile detention. So I was like, well, why aren't we doing that? Why are we spending all this money to Minnehaha County versus, doing what they're doing? I've been to Roberts County, and I don't know if anybody's ever been to Roberts County. I don't know. I think Deb Lilly, you've been to Roberts County?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So Roberts County Jail, and I've talked to Sheriff Apple up there. I took a tour of it just a couple, was it weeks ago or 3 weeks ago? They have their whole jail pod, and I'm not joking, okay? In between, there's a pod for juveniles, and there's a curtain. It's a curtain rod. And that's the separation of sight and sound. The state of South Dakota signs off on that. Because when Roberts County initially had their safety center built, they also passed a bond, from what I was told, I think about 18 years ago. On the far west side of their building, they were supposed to have a juvenile detention center built. It never got built. It got squashed by the commission at the very end. And that's why they're in their predicament that they're in. So, but that's what they use right now for juvenile detention hold. And they house for surrounding counties in their facility. Is it as glamorous as what we're proposing? I will tell you, it is not. Okay. But this is built for the future. This is built for what the public expects with their tax dollars. But at the end of the day, it's not my decision. It's something I noticed when I took over and talking, to Chair Marquardt and, well, you guys about it. I mean, it's not gonna go away. And our current jail, even though we are able to maybe house up to 40 marshals, that might go away down to 20 in the next 5 years because our population grows. Well, that's gonna go away. But luckily, they built big enough at the time for us to be able to think long-term. And that's what this is also. But that's my opinion.
And then this will be just like the safety center, be in a special fund, and won't be in the general fund. But now when it comes budget time next year, or when we start doing it, are you gonna ask the department heads to ask them to cut it 10%? Are you gonna ask them to cut it another 20 or another 30? So the budget isn't gonna be higher? And granted, I know we probably need it, but I just, you get done with one, the county's relief of a safety center, and then you go right into one that's, by the end of it, with the interest, is it gonna be like 9 million?
But like I said,
Correct?
yeah, like I said, you could wash the marshals out once the contract's done, reevaluate our current jail, and be able to build it maybe on what we have in the bank versus doing a levy. I have no idea. But if we want to keep sending the kids to Sioux Falls, that's up to you guys to decide, not me. I'm still required to provide the services to get them there. I'm just bringing it up to you because I don't want 5 years from now, maybe some new commissioners on the board saying, well, what the heck?
Why didn't you do this? Why are we spending $800 a night to house our juveniles?
And I'll say, you can look at YouTube on December 16th, 2025. And this is what we presented at the time.
And I think in the past year, we received projected amount from Sioux Falls far over the $500.
$555.
They were saying 800 and stuff when their construction was done.
Yeah, I think originally. And in 5 years from now, they send a letter to Patty saying, hey, this is what we're gonna start charging. Like I said, I think it's very ironic that this one letter came out on July 8th saying that it was gonna be $555. I came to the commission on February, and then we started doing the feasibility study. And now we got it knocked down to almost $20 over what we're paying this year. That's a win. And it's not gonna fix the long-term problem.
A couple of years ago, wasn't it only $300?
Yep, and that's why I gave that projection of 2019 and 2020. We were under half of what we're spending today, and we had one bad juvenile that was up there for almost 2 years.
And phase 1 of the Sioux Falls facility is just now is done, and they're moving juveniles into phase 1. So phase 2 is still coming.
And I think they overbuilt what Dan was talking about. They actually have a shelled out building for an additional courtroom at some point. Because Sioux Falls is blowing up, it's getting bigger population wise. And
what is that green line, the revenue from others? Is that what you're projecting that you'll get as a revenue? 754, what does that mean?
Dan, I'm a cop. I'm gonna leave it to the professional.
So what is it?
Yeah, good question.
Well, it says other revenue.
Other users.
So that is assuming we've got a full facility minus Yankton County's typical average use at a rate of $170 a night. So that's where you have the latitude, and as a
Is that calculated into expenses?
Yeah.
Okay, so what if that, and what Ryan brought up, what if we have 6 people in there? What does that do? That lowers that number and increases the expenses, so it could be quite a bit higher then, correct?
Right. So if you're full of Yankton kids, obviously you're not making any making money on it, which is a kind of a hard way to talk about it,
So
but yeah.
this assumes what, 4 Yankton kids and 4 out-of-county kids, or what is the assumed data say here? How many
So-
Yankton, how many out of?
Yankton has about an average of 440, I think it was, average daily
What is
population. So
that?
that's about 1 kid per day, roughly.
Okay.
I don't have a calculator, but how come the revenue from all users is exactly equal to the total
It's
annual
magic.
expenses on every single year? I mean, how can that be?
So this was,
No, there's 80 cents difference on the first one.
So my question is, we're assuming that we build this facility and that there's 1 kid from Yankton and 7 kids from other counties. Is that what you're telling me?
yes,
But that's not realistic.
right, and that's the thing. There's a lot of ways you can spin this.
Okay, but I mean, what is it if it was 50-50? I think is probably more reasonable. Because I highly doubt it's gonna be 1 versus 7. So if it was 4 Yankton kids and 4 other, what would that number be? Because, I mean, we're looking at this trying to make an important decision, and do you get what I'm saying?
I understand that, but
Yeah.
the answer is
Yeah.
it's the difference between,
Well, it'll be a lot more expensive for us is what it'll be.
well, yes, our expense will go up if we only have 1 person in there.
No, we'll get a lot more revenue if we have 1 Yankton kid and
Yes.
7 other kids, and that's what this assumes. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so what I would like to see is 4 Yankton kids and 4 other kids, and the revenue will drastically go down and the expenses will go up.
Like
Yeah.
hire professional, like counselors and. Right? So you will have to pay for professional,
Here's what
that
this is
expense.
what I'll say. Right now, we have Lewis and Clark Behavioral Services. Does anybody know what counties come for that?
A lot.
Okay? So we have that resource right here already with Lewis and Clark Behavioral. Like, we don't get a bill
So
from,
you're not gonna have,
well,
professionals in the building.
yeah,
with
well,
These kids.
well, I mean, if they need to have an evaluation done, just like we do at the county jail. If you look at juvenile detention center, we send a kid up to Sioux Falls, right? And they have to see a mental health person. Who gets the bill for that? It comes back to the home county of the juvenile. So it doesn't matter if our juvenile is in Yankton County or if they're in Hughes County, because we got a bill from Pennington County for a juvenile on a mental health. Like it goes back to the home county regardless. So if it's a, Charles Mix kid, that bill is going to get billed to Charles Mix County. And we have the resources here because guess where Charles Mix brings their people? Lewis and Clark Behavioral anyways. So we already have a lot of the resources already here. So. And when it comes to schooling, there's a lot of online schooling since COVID hit. I saw kids at the high school that were able to, they called it Play-Doh is what the program was called. But there's a lot of kids that are currently in the Yankton School District now that are online school kids. So they're at home doing online work that gets them credit towards their diploma.
Still think it's gonna lead to more expenses for the county in the long run.
I'm sorry. Microphone. Sorry. It's on.
I think it's gonna be, in the long run, there's gonna be more expense for Yankton County. That's my opinion, and
Where
it's
would,
not my decision.
I know, but where would you feel that would occur at?
Well, with that, I mean, I think you should have on-call or people that are nightly there at this place that because you're gonna have juveniles
We're not,
all year round, or all night, right? Correct?
yeah.
And the staffing and, I mean, are they just gonna be regular jailers or are you gonna have, you know what I mean?
So let's just say hypothetically, we have 1 jailer or 1 CO or detention deputy that's over with 8 juveniles. You have one adult for every 8 juveniles. So that's 1 full-time person. Now, if you build the building off-site to a separate location, not attached to the building, those rules that you're talking about, Patty, change dramatically. And who's not to say in the next 5 years, the state changes these rules with DOC. Then we're gonna have to probably build something at some point. And that could be 20 years from now, I don't know. I'm just bringing it up as the sheriff, noticing that there's been a cost that we're sending money to. It is easy for us to
So
say.
is it gonna go to a vote in June then? Whether
No,
we
I
should
do not want it with the primary election for next year. 'Cause it'll
to,
go next year.
to replace the,
Cause we're gonna. have so
basically to
many ballots
replace the
besides.
safety center bond issue?
So we have a special election.
Yep,
Yeah, but doesn't a special election cost about $40,000?
35.
What if we,
Yeah, why don't we throw it on top of the other one?
general election?
Then it'll cost another $85,000 on top of what this is to build it. Here's what I
That's up
think.
to you. That's up to
I
you.
guess I think there's two issues is, do we approve it, yes or no? And then do we send it to the voted people, yes or no? And I guess I would, no matter how I vote in the first one, I think it should go to a vote of the citizens. That's my thought. And so whether yes or no.
It might be easier for people to accept it if they know it's not going to raise their taxes. It's just going to replace the money that the safety center has been using for 20 years,
So
if that makes sense.
can I ask for public comment? If there's any public comment at this point in time? Or are we done discussing or?
I don't think we vote on it tonight, do we?
Let's get some.
Can I get some public comment if we have any? Anyone want to speak on this issue?
Oh, you gotta come up to the mic.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know exactly what she was saying, but what I.
You're not all the way to the microphone yet.
Good gosh, no kidding. Here's the deal. I think she's saying you're gonna have kids in there. They're all, some of them are gonna be mental. I'm sorry, they are. Are you gonna have somebody there that's gonna be able to take that kid and do the mental stuff with?
Just like when there's a kid that's not in the juvenile detention center,
Mhm.
where do we take them?
Lewis and Clark.
Bingo.
So that's all you're gonna do, just,
It's the same services that everybody else gets, 8 counties around us.
okay, that's all I want to know.
Might even be more counties. I don't know, is it 8? That Lewis and Clark provides?
It's a lot.
So no other public comment. Public comment is closed. I think the gentleman sitting over here would like to know what they're supposed to do, and I think they're expecting us to tell them tonight that
I don't want to speak for Journey or Carlson West Pounder, but this isn't something that we're saying, tell us tonight. This is something that the goal here was to give you a concept budget. Take some time to think about it because it isn't something that you deserve the time to think about it. We're not asking to say you've heard it for, we've been here for 1 hour. Decide that's unfair. So
Could we get a different budget that's broke down a little more realistically as well, if we are gonna see this again? Because I know, this assuming one person from Yankton and we're getting revenue from 7 counties, I don't know.
Yep.
I think our actual expenses are gonna be, they're always higher than what you predict they are. Whenever you build something, people say, okay, I need this number of staff, and that number never goes down. It's always more. So if we can take what our actual projected expenses are versus what we're paying now, I think we'll get a better picture of it. And that's what I'd like to see.
we can put together a few different sort of
I
scenarios.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And, at the end of the day, also, the building doesn't have to be as big as what we're proposing either. We've talked about that in the committee. We've said, do we need a building this big? Technically, we do not. So do we have to? That's for you guys to decide. When we're looking at the juvenile detention stuff, we're talking about hard savings. We're talking about the soft savings I talked about earlier. Those are things that you guys all have to consider. And again, is the building bigger than what we need it for? Yes. Why did I go to the surrounding counties to ask them if they would bring their juveniles over here? To gauge the interest of surrounding counties if that was something they wanted to. If we don't want to do it that way, I don't know how far we're into this thing where you want to cut the building down where it's smaller, or do we just want to keep sending the juveniles to Sioux Falls? And in 5 years from now, and I can tell you since 2019, it used to be about $300 at JDC. We're already at $522 technically starting on January 1st of 2026.
Plus travel, plus
Travel, and we don't make money on the travel, So long-term, that's what has to be considered here. And Tyler's spot on. We're not here to make you guys make a decision tonight.
Okay, so then I believe we can wrap this deal up. We've had the discussion. You're gonna present us with another budget, 4 and 4 or 6 and 4 or whatever, and we'll move forward onto our next agenda item at this point in time.
And then can you include the actual expenses that we paid for the last, just so we can compare that on the shim sheet? I think that'd be helpful for not only us, but the citizens too. Well, what our expenses have been for the last few years.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
So question on Sioux Falls. I think we started 3-4 years ago at $200-300 a day.
Yeah.
Were they making money then?
Were they?
Yeah, were they covering their expenses?
Well, they didn't have a new building at the time. They had to build a new building to.
So will they be able to cover their expenses of the new building?
Well, I think they are going to because I'm assuming that other counties that we talked to got the same letter that we got on December 1st, that they're going to lower it from $555 down to $522. I think $500 is very steep for sending a juvenile to Sioux Falls, but as you're talking about wrapping this up, I totally agree. I just would like to know, and I think the voters and I think the public would all like to know, what's the expectation? Because I think we're already end of December. The next meeting you guys have on the 29th isn't going to be.
That's just for end of year
Yep,
stuff.
I know, I'm just end of the year. So now we're already in January, sometime that would come back, that Tyler and them would all come back in and give.
Well, I think we need some input from citizens, not just the 5 of us and you.
And
I
decide
was
this.
hoping we'd get some of that tonight, but
Well, they're rushing to the front.
One quick last question, since we're going to probably mull this over, let people look at it and talk about it. This presentation, this packet of information, do you have this on the website?
I could get it on our social media page. I'll get it from
Yeah, so
Tyler.
that, so that the citizens can take a look at it as well.
It should be in your packet.
Is it on the county website so
Yeah.
people can
Yeah.
look at it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
But I
I mean, just this thing.
yeah,
but I could put it on our social media pages for the
Yeah.
sheriff's office. There's a lot of people who follow our page versus check the website on.
Mhm.
But I just think that going already into January, I think going into that time are you guys looking at bringing it to a vote? Or do you guys plan on doing a levy? Or do you plan on doing?
I don't think we've got to the point of planning yet.
Well,
I think we need more input before we plan.
And I agree. But I think once you get into January, when do things have to be on a primary ballot? If you decided to do it on a primary or a special election? Those are the questions I think that need to be.
I get that, but special elections, I know Patty would prefer to do it a special election, but given our budget situation, I'm not a huge fan of just spending $35,000
then have it at the primary. I mean, if you approve it and because the whole county will be voting on it.
And
I understand the
petitions have to
theory.
be in for that to get it on that ballot. The petitions have to be in by when?
Well, we
Well,
could vote. on this,
I
just-
don't know, but this, because there would have to be the normal petitions for the primary, that's March 31st, but this might be different.
Tyler, question for you. There's two options. We can place this on a vote on the ballot, correct? Or if we passed it without doing that, citizens could petition it for a vote. Is that correct?
If you pass it,
And we.
they can petition, yeah.
Yeah, but if we vote and we want to put it on a ballot, we can also do that from what I understand. And that would be my preference. If
I
we do
agree.
it, because then it's up to the citizens and the people who are ultimately going to be paying, they can decide, do we want it? Yes or no? They can go to the polls and decide.
And if that's the case, I'm okay with helping getting the information out to the public. But I would like a commissioner probably to join me in order to get the information out to the public so everybody's educated, like having a designated date and time, certain location for the public to be able to attend. If nobody shows up, due diligence has been had where we're making multiple stops for people to come in. You know, we want to go to Gayville, we can go to Gayville and set one up at the city hall. If we want to go to Lesterville, we can do the one at the fire hall. But if you guys want to bring it to a vote, I'm asking that I would need a little help to get that information across.
It's only fair.
Yeah,
And I'd be more than happy if that's okay with the other commissioners.
I mean,
And
if
also-
you're doing multiple of these, we can divide it up too if we need to,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
so,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you and thank you all for your time and we'll be back in touch.
Thanks.
Preston, do you want to wait? We'll have to sign this.
That's our next agenda item. Approve the juvenile detention center agreement. You're back up.
That was fast.
Like, when my wife wants water, I just sit down, I have to get
Yeah.
a glass of water for her, so. But I think we talked enough about it, so it's, we have to sign the agreement. I don't think there's anything that we can dispute. I think it's a win for sure that they lowered it down to $522.06 per night. And then I think for a rise, it's $300 or something.
I move we sign the agreement.
Second,
Motion by Don, second by Wanda to approve the Minnehaha juvenile detention contract.
Does that lock us, should have asked this before, does that lock us in to a certain period of time?
Just for the year of 2026.
2026.
It's kind of like what we talked about with the juveniles. If another county wanted to bring them over, we just charge a flat rate and we'd be doing what they're doing to us, essentially.
All in favor, aye.
aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. 1215 Whiting Street property. This is property that has been deeded to the county on 1215 Whiting Street. It's been brought to my attention that the Habitat for Humanity is asking if we would be interested in abating that property to Habitat for Humanity to build a house or two on the property. And you got to forgive me, I can't remember your name, but Cindy is here from Habitat for Humanity. If there are any questions from the commissioners, she would be more than happy to answer them.
Welcome.
The abatement would cost, there's about $25,000 worth of taxes, back taxes that are not been paid. And for some reason, the state got that. Tyler, do you know anything about this? So Rob did in June a quick claim deed with the state And how the state got it from the previous owner, I have no idea, but Rob got it quitclaim to the county. So we own the property and it's,
Well, I have a question. How come we don't sell it for 25,000 just to pay the taxes? Since we're in a budget shortfall.
Can I speak to that? So I did an assessment, our staff did an assessment of all of the taxes that are gained in that area. We have a duplex that Habitat built, I don't know, it's probably 10 years ago now. It gets $3,500 of taxes for that duplex on one lot, per year. The whole rest of that block gets 2,000 on that side. So if you were to sell this for 25,000, you're gonna get 25,000. And then you're gonna get somebody like the rest of the block that maybe rents out of something that shouldn't be rented out, where we could build 3 units on there. And
Hey.
that would be probably $5,000 of tax revenue per year.
Okay, that was my next question. Once 3 units are built on that property and they go to presumably 3 different people,
Yep.
then you think that it will generate $5,000 a year in tax revenue
Yeah, well, we have the
for each one or total?
total. So we have the duplexes that are, they are $1,700 each side. And so if we had 3 of those, then it would be, yeah, it would be in that neighborhood of 5,000, I would assume. And then, you know, I have a lot of information about it, but if you look at the quality of the properties, so we're going to put a sidewalk on there, right? And if you look down this side of the street where the Habitat homes are, they're well kept. They have a sidewalk, they're set back.
And the other ones don't.
And the other ones don't. And they're, you know, and I think once we get that foothold, and thank you for the Ash Street house that you deeded us a few years ago. The school and Habitat are partnering together. The school is building the house and moving it onto Ash Street, which is also in that neighborhood. We have 10 to 12 homes that we've built there. So our heart is there that we want to continue in that effort to not only, you know, build new homes, but also to go door to door to the current owner occupied places and say, what do you need? How can we help you? We have access to 504 direct loans and grants that we can help people make critical repairs on their homes if they own them. And then we also want to try to put pressure on not pressure, but maybe say,
Pressure.
how about just say,
Encouragement.
maybe you're ready to sell your house now because it's, you know, not looking so good. And so, you know, that kind of thing to try to get that neighborhood back. And we also want to encourage the community to support us in that with a big Rock the Block event where we're going to go next year when the house gets moved down from the school. We want people to come and help clean up that area. And it's just, you know, it's a nice neighborhood waiting to happen, I think. Is
Well,
what it is.
I agree. I helped with, I think it was the Ash Street house a number of years ago and drove past it. And then the neighbor house started fixing his house and
Yeah,
it had
it grows.
a really good effect. And
Mhm.
and I think this is a positive thing. From what I understand, the house is a disaster. It's gonna have to get ripped down. And we had a bunch of these properties that we tried to sell before and you know, the lot isn't very expensive and it is expensive to tear down a house and dispose of it. It probably costs more than what the lot is, and we had tried to sell other properties in the past, so
And the
I think
Ash
this would be a
house, I think
positive.
you did
Yeah.
try to sell that first.
Yeah.
It cost us $25,000 to have that demoed and it's a small house.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is expensive and there's not a lot of people that want to do it, but
So if we transfer this property to you, you would put 3 houses on it? And you would, and if we had some agreement where, when would this start? Is this,
well, we have the funds, so
would
the
it
main
start
thing
in
is-
the next few years?
yes.
Okay, because
Yes,
that was an issue we've done with some of the small
We had 3
communities.
years to do
They,
the Ash
yeah,
one.
they
Mhm.
ended up not doing that, so,
Right.
and
No,
I'm
this
fine with that.
is
so.
our neighborhood of focus and kind of the Ash Street house, even though at first, that's when I first started that was given to us. I'm like, it's on a floodplain. It's a horrible house. And I thought, do we really want this? But then it kind of rolled into this is gonna be our focus neighborhood. This is where we have a whole bunch of other homes. And so I think it's another opportunity for us. So I would say, probably if I can get, I've contacted the governor's houses, South Dakota Housing. They do governor's houses and they do the multi duplex type of things as well, because we're not going to stick build ourselves anymore. But they only do that for populations under 5,000. But they've agreed to possibly do that for us, which would be a really inexpensive way for us.
They're going to do
that.
what for you?
They make, it's like a multi-duplex kind of thing where it's at Springfield Prison where they build the governor's houses.
Oh, yeah.
So we could either do one governor's house and a duplex. The duplexes right now, or you can do a multiplex. They only do at towns under 5,000. But when I called, they said they would consider that change because that would be perfect for us to be able to do, like a multiplex there. And I'm not sure, we'd have to do a land survey to see how many we could fit.
So then who owns the multiplex?
Well, we would buy
Does
it.
Habitat own the multiplex or do two different people own this multiplex?
We would,
Or a duplex?
yeah, and it could be a multiplex. They were made to be rented, but how the South Dakota Housing Governor's House works is that we can purchase the house and then we sell it to a qualified person. So it worked just the same way. And then they could get a loan from anywhere to pay us back and keep our program going.
I guess my preference would be that if we gave this to you, it would it be owner occupied. I mean, the last
100%,
thing.
that's all we can do.
Okay,
That's
because
all
I
we can
wouldn't
do.
want it to be
That's all
bought
we can
by
do. Yep.
somebody from out of state and then rented. Okay.
We would never sell
So-
them. That's,
So,
that's.
Are there any
Is
special
this
assessments
property
from the
big
city
enough?
on this?
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
And then
5,600.
has the city agreed with you to waive the special assessment?
Brad,
Brad
Brad,
Reese did.
yeah, that's how we
Okay.
got in contact.
So
Nancy.
if the commission does this, you're gonna put 3 houses on there or one house in a
We have-
multiplex?
We have to do the land survey and such to make sure that will work. But yes, I would. Brad and we looked at it that day and that's what they were estimating based on, the lot size. I can't guarantee, but for sure 2.
Two houses for sure, and
And then,
Brad said possibly 3 according to the way he measured it and looked at it.
right,
But
yeah,
two
But
houses
you
for
want to
sure.
get as many on there as you can anyway.
100%. I mean, but also being decent. I mean, our motto is decent,
Yeah.
safe,
Are you
affordable.
ready for a motion?
I would,
First,
But
first,
before we make a motion, can we have as a part of the motion that there will be a couple of
Conditions,
houses and if not, then it's coming back to the county?
And I would do an agreement. that
And not
development
sold,
needs
not
to-
sold to a slumlord?
I would, well,
Habitat
I would say
never,
that
ever, ever, ever
development.
do that.
Just saying.
Development needs to start within 3 years or it comes back to the county. And there's a minimum of 2, if not 3 owner occupied houses placed on the lot. Is that good with you?
And not with abatements,
first
because
of all-
that kind of defeats the whole purpose of property taxes.
First of all, you have to declare surplus.
Right.
And
Did
then
you
make
have
your-
something, sure?
Yes. I'll speak to this. I remember the house on Ash Street. It was turned into a beautiful, nice neighborhood now. So I used to work that patrol a lot. This specific residence, there is some pending legal stuff to the state's attorney's office that I think you may have to consider first. Or there's some pending case, there's a case with the city.
Is it evidence?
Well, allegedly somebody broke into the residence. So I just want to make sure it's clear with the state's attorney's office.
Well, it's not an occupied structure, clearly.
Well, the county's a victim of a crime essentially is what it is. So
County's a victim of a crime every day.
I don't disagree with you.
Have you seen our budget?
well, we'll make sure that the state's attorney looks into that.
Yep.
When I was over there the other day, there was,
Water?
no, there wasn't a squatter at the time when we were there. However, that morning, evidently someone called in that someone broke a window out of the house. And so when Gary and I showed up there was the police officers were there and cleared cleared the property, so we were not gonna be in.
More
Harm's
reason to
way.
get rid of it. Make a motion to declare 1215 Whitting Street property as surplus.
Second.
I got a motion by Dan, second by Ryan to deed the property to Habitat for Humanity.
As surplus.
No,
Sure.
to call it surplus.
Surplus.
You're
Excess
jumping
surplus.
ahead.
Is that a good motion? Okay.
Excess surplus, okay. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Next motion would be to.
Can I just
Yep.
interject? Before we could, I don't know if this is even part of it, but I would have to go to the board, obviously, and do all my bits. So I just want to make sure that.
So are you saying you want to come back in January
I
after you've gone to the board and
I feel very confident that that they will accept it, but before I can
Could,
say that I can accept it.
could we make a motion and then she could just not accept it?
No.
We gotta wait. Okay.
can't do that?
I would just wait until
She
they give
goes,
the go-ahead.
Okay.
Okay,
she goes to the board,
And then-
gets their approval and then do it.
Our thought is we want a minimum of 2, preferably 3 owner occupied houses, and then you need to start construction within 3 years. Anything else you guys would want to add?
I
Is
think it's,
that fair?
I
With-
think just
with-
saying minimum of 2 houses.
Minimum of
Keep it
2
simple.
houses with purchasers who will actually pay taxes.
And
Owner-
construction start within 3 years, or it reverts back to the county.
Yeah.
I have a public comment that would like to speak, right?
Are you selling these individual? Or
Yeah.
to the, okay.
Yeah, we only sell to owner we
Oh,
can only
occupied.
as Habitat, we can only do that, and that would be the only thing that we would do.
So you need
Yeah.
it platted.
I thought public comment was closed though.
I don't know if it
Not on
ever
this
opened,
subject.
actually.
Public comment on this particular item.
So I just wanted to say that Yankton Thrive has been utilized in the past for property transfers when there was abatement issues on some of the properties. So I don't believe it was declared surplus when we utilized that before. So I just wanted to offer, if that was helpful to the county and helpful to Habitat, to have that be a transfer through us, because that's a legal option available to you. I wanted to say that we would do that for you. If you deem so. But I also wanted to mention that as you're talking about what a contract might look like for Habitat, Habitat will also want to keep in mind if they pay to demo the house and they don't get the development done, you probably want to address what would happen with that in the contract, that as you're putting some stipulations in place to make sure that the county comes out for a win. I know Habitat will want to look out for themselves as well if they invest $20,000 or however much to tear down the home, and then the timeline that they have to develop. So it's just one other thing to consider in your contract.
Thank you.
Why don't we put you on in January?
Sounds good.
We'll see you then. Merry
Sounds good.
Christmas.
Yeah, thanks. I also want to, can I invite you all to our open house for this deal that you're all part of?
Thank you. I can-
What the school is doing. Made enough copies, but
Some of you guys are gonna have to share.
I can also.
I think I already got an email.
Yeah, I did.
Next item. Well, request for a 10-minute break. Can I get a motion?
Deny. So moved.
Got a motion by Dan, second by
Second.
Ryan. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Regular session.
So moved.
Got a motion by Dan, second by Don. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Don, you're up.
Okay. Planning and zoning committee was challenged by me and to come up with recommendations to improve opportunities for economic growth in the county and increased financial
Move your
stability for
mic.
the county. Pardon.
Move your mic over.
During our discussion at our last meeting, we developed some ideas on which to make our recommendations, and I bring these forward to you for discussion. The first point was we felt the county should develop 2 task forces to examine our current status and make recommendations. The first task force would have the mission of taking a deep dive into the 2026 budget to challenge and develop any recommendations for improved realistic changes to the financial soundness of the county. The second task force would be charged with the mission of developing processes that meet expectations and are realistic to address and promote economic growth in the county. I'd address the second task force mission first. It was strongly felt that if the county is going to be successful, there must be a strong collaboration between all county departments, the city commission, Thrive, state organizations, and the federal government, our manufacturing community, schools, and the medical community, and the residents at large. To achieve this collaboration, we will have coordination and cooperation between each of these groups. It was felt that the task force should have several people in the group representing the county. One of the main goals would be to identify the kinds of growth the community wants and will support. It was felt that the task force should be identified, organized, and start their work immediately in January. And this was really a strong recommendation goal that they had. They feel that as a county, we can go so much farther if we collaborate and cooperate together and make things happen together, and rather than separately and disparagingly. So the first task force would have the mission of challenging our 2026 budget for accuracy and develop a reporting format of expenses and income that would be understandable to county residents. It was our recommendation that this task force be composed of a smaller group of members, all of which would have a background in financial planning and organization. Their recommendations and observations would go directly to the county commission for action. They would be responsible to ensure that any changes in the county operations are financially sound. Their recommendations would go directly to the county commission for action. Each task force will have 2 county commissioners, 2 planning and zoning people, and as many qualified individuals as in the community that would apply to be on the task force. We're thinking that this is really getting into all about leadership. John has demonstrated his vision on leadership in the area of building the detention facility, long range. But we don't have enough buy-in, in our opinion, from the county residents to show us this is the direction we want to go, or we want to go this way. We're an agriculturally based county. Surely agriculture should play a strong part of any recommendations for economic development. The county commission will have the final decision on all changes and or recommendations. It was hope of planning and zoning committee that all organizations or groups will cooperate and arrive at recommendations that we all can support and promote, even if we do not agree completely on the recommendation. So that's what we came up with. My look here today would do get an approval from the county commission to develop a list of people that might be on those two task force, bring that to the county at our next meeting, and then develop the plan for going forward. I would volunteer to serve on both task force, since this is kind of an area that I've been working with, budgeting and so forth, unless anyone objects to that,
Don,
which I won't
it
argue with.
it said like the one on the budget, that kind of seems like that would be covered by like the financial action network that we wanted to set up. Would that be one and the same, basically?
It would be close, except that we're gonna look for, it would be close, but we're gonna look for outside resources that have a deep expertise in budgeting and may not have any
Because I just want to avoid a duplicity of effort on that, because I think at last meeting, we talked about getting a group of people together to kind of review county budget and ask for advice, and this seems maybe not the same, but very, very similar.
And in our group, we discussed that, the meeting we had last time with, what was their names?
Mrs. Crandall.
Mrs. Crandall. And that would be one of the options that would be highly considered.
I'd say we create a unity of effort with that one. And then as far as the other one for, you're talking about options, from the feedback I've got, yeah, I agree with that for the most part. And I like setting the conditions to be successful and looking at where projects have ran into obstacles. And when we were out at that housing development at Dropsman and I visited with him, he said that he was delayed by 2 years from BY Water. That the only thing he was delayed by. So I guess I would, and it's great to look at different options and stuff. But when we do get development that's ready to go, and then they have to wait for 2 years for another entity to tell them what they already knew they could do. Water is important in no matter what we do. I think maybe starting there and just looking at why is it so hard to get access to water for industry and business and residential? I think that's really important, because we can go and look for, say, manufacturing, but if we can't get water to it because of some reason why we move forward, and maybe we start there, or at least have that as an important component of that.
Yeah, and I would say, Dan, that I would kind of include this under leadership responsibilities. We've got to start working together as a total group within the county.
I would agree.
We've got challenges that we haven't had as long as I've been on the commission with finances and we need to be, looking for every resource and every possible, thing that we can do to solve our own problems, not wait for somebody to solve them for us. So,
Do we need a motion?
yes,
I'll
Well,
make
wait, we already have we already done the motion and set up or agreed that we're gonna put a financial advisory board together. I think that pretty much takes care of the one task force for dealing with the budget.
Yeah.
So we really don't need a motion to come up with a budget task force or something like that. I think the financial advisory board is that.
I agree.
As far as the other one, what about us, each one of the commissioners maybe going out and getting some public input on, hey, you know, these are the couple areas we'd like to see for growth, each one of us, and then maybe come back and then we do maybe have a little guardrails on here. I mean, everybody has their own idea on what they want to do. And I mean, we don't want somebody to come back and, you know, have something that's not gonna necessarily be compatible with.
well, quite frankly, the planning and zoning, committee,
Mhm.
they didn't want to work, for a considerable amount of time going through this and discussing these things and then come to the county commission and have one or two people say no.
Yeah.
And so that's why the recommendation is for more people to be on the group, in the group, to make the recommendations, put the recommendations together.
Because I don't have a problem forming the task force to work with economic development or generating revenue or things like that. But I'm pretty well set on the financial advisory board being that.
Yeah.
That's set up, and yes, we gotta determine who's gonna be on that, and we did talk about Don and Dan along with if the Mrs. Crandall and her group, I mean, they're professionals at setting budgets for several different businesses and entities. And yes, we need to get more people on that board that has a little bit more further outreach, but
John, I would like to actually be on that in that place, just simply because I am someone who definitely will crunch numbers and run numbers.
You want to be on the financial group?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can take my spot.
Yeah.
Like,
okay, that's,
I would
And
recommend,
especially if we're gonna also talk about systems and possible softwares or anything like that, or any other big changes, you know, I kind of do that on a daily basis.
I can get you into contact with Susan Beeman from Minnehaha County. They've had a lot of success with their organization, and I'm not saying you have to do exactly what they did, but at least it'd be an outline to follow.
Yeah.
Follow something that's been successful for a county.
So you having these people come to the budget hearings when we have them with the department heads and all that?
I don't see that happening.
I don't think that Catherine Crandall was even thinking of that way either. They're gonna,
It'd be open
Make
to the public
proposals.
though, like everything. It'd
Right.
be open to the public. If they want to come, they come.
and I get it. I do agree with Don that we should have collaboration with the city and Thrive and other businesses that are involved in, and other counties. I mean, yeah, collaboration is gonna be the key for the success of all of the counties, not just us, but you know, and if we can if we can follow the blueprint that Minnehaha County went through, and if we can make it a success story, other counties will follow ours blueprint too, so.
The important thing is to get buy-in.
Yeah.
You know, we have elections and 18% of the people come. We have meetings here on budget and planning and 0 people come.
One person came.
One
Thank
person.
you. You're our biggest fan, you know that? Thank you.
Sorry. We need, and that's again in the leadership area where I think The entire commission has to get on the same page and get out and lead our changes or our to resolve our challenges.
Don,
Because we're what, 12 days, 10 days into that new budget, from being in that new budget. And that new budget shows us
Yep.
$3 or $4 million short.
Don, I'd be willing to sit with you to look at different growth opportunities. And I think it's important that people realize that county government functions so much different than city or the state. You know, with city and state government, you get a new grocery store, you're generating sales tax revenue and all this. County, if you get a big manufacturing building, that's great, but it's probably has a discretionary formula, so you might not even start collecting taxes or definitely full taxes for 5 years.
10 or 20.
And so there's there's a different approach, and I can't believe that people I talk to still don't believe that they think counties collect sales tax and we don't. And so that's important. People just realize the revenue source is so different, but be happy to do that. And I don't know, we probably don't even need a motion for that, do we? We just, unless somebody's got an issue with it, we just bring
I
back our
think you should have a
recommendations
reason
and go from there.
for, creating the task force for the, planning, economic development planning.
Get a motion to that effect?
I'll move to, create a task force for, economic development planning.
Got a motion by Ryan. Get a second?
I'll second that, I guess. I don't, do we need that? I mean, it's more of like housekeeping. I just set up well, I mean, can we just have a group that brings a recommendation? I mean, they're not empowered with any authority to do anything.
Well,
are they?
it's a task force that we're setting up that
Task force felt rather strongly that if we're going to do something, we need to get on it and do it. And even to the point where they suggested initially probably weekly meetings to keep the ball rolling would be kind of the guide that we should go by. They want to see us get it rolling.
Because task forces are created by the commission, they are possibly subject to open meeting laws. So it's probably best that they're created by a commission.
I think it's,
Can we get,
I think this whole thing should be open to.
I agree.
do we have any scope other than that? I mean, that leaves it like, it's like how long, what do we want them to do?
Well,
What's the
we
expectations of it? I
We
mean,
budget and plan in what?
Yeah.
June, is that when we gotta put the budget together?
427, yes.
4/27, April. We
June,
need
right?
to,
Is when-
Yeah.
We'll start in June.
we need to be well down the road.
So that's the financial advisory board or committee.
That's not
That's
the task force that you're doing.
right. That's for the financial advisory committee, and that's already been established that we're gonna take applications for that. We got a motion and a second to develop the economic development task force or committee. You want to call it a task force or committee, whatever. So I have a motion and a second.
Task force, and we'll keep it as a task force.
Any further discussion on that one? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Second reading of ordinance 25 ZN 03.
You want to ask for public comment on that?
All right, so we have second reading to present comments and testimony regarding proposed amendments for Yankton County Ordinance 2020 Article 4, official zoning map and boundary interpretations, and supersede, readopt amended zoning map Article 11, Lakeside Commercial District, and repeal Article 27 Highway 52 Corridor Overlay District. At the conclusion of this hearing, the Yankton County Commission may adopt Yankton County Ordinance 25ZN03.
Any public comments on this item? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Commission discussion. Need a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve the ordinance changes in 25ZN03.
Second.
Motion by Wanda, second by Don to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
State of South Dakota plot.
Did their check pass or did it bounce? We charged them for doing that, didn't we? For doing the plat. Yeah.
We have 5 plats tonight, if you're ready to move on to that.
Yep.
First one being plat of Mead Building Tract 5 in the north, 1120.1 feet of Lot A and the remainder thereof in the southeast quarter of Section 36, Township 94 North, Range 56 West of the 5th Principal Meridian, Yankton County, South Dakota.
I'd move approval, but I can't believe that that's not incorporated into the city yet. That just, it's amazing.
ETJ, yeah.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Wanda to approve the state of South Dakota plat. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Second one's a replat of Angie Highland Edition in the northwest quarter of the northeast quarter of Section 33, Township 94 North, Range 54 West of the 5th Principal Meridian, Yankton County, South Dakota.
Is this one of the,
Yeah, so a while back, you approved the homestead plat for like 7 some acres, 7.5. Now they decided they wanted to make it bigger, so it's closer to our 10 acres, but yeah, so they're.
well, then this is good that the zoning ordinance change is allowing this to go through instead of a variance, and I think it's a positive thing, so move approval.
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Wanda to approve the Highland plat. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Next one, we're adding another lot to overlook, plat of Lot 6, Tract A, Lot Overlook subdivision in the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 7, in the northeast quarter of Section 18, all in Township 93 North, Range 56 West of the 5th Principal Meridian, Yankton County, South Dakota.
Move approval.
Second. Give it to Ryan.
Motion by Wanda, second by Ryan to approve the Riken Nodell plat. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Next one's a plat of lots C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6, C7, C8, C9, C10, C11, and C12 of Lot 21 Whitetail Run in the southeast quarter, the northeast quarter of Section 16, Township 93 North, Range 56 West of the 5th Principal Meridian, Yankton County, South Dakota. Just adding a third layer of these man cave type places.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Wanda, second by Dan to approve the Goshen Nation plat. Further discussion?
Yeah, just for on to what Don was saying about development. I mean, in all of these plats we see here, development is happening, and sometimes maybe we just don't realize it, and it might not be what everybody wants, but people are building, and how many is this? 12 plots? I mean, so it is happening. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Last one's a plat of Tract 1.
We gotta vote. All in favor,
sorry.
aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Plat of Tract 1 Slowey Edition in the southwest quarter of Section 35, Township 94 North, Range 56 West of the 5th Principal Meridian, Yankton County, South Dakota.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Wanda, second by Ryan to approve the Slowy plat. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
I'd move approval of the December 2, 2025 minutes.
Second.
A motion by Wanda, second by Ryan to approve December 2nd, 2025 minutes. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
I'd move approval of the claims.
Second.
Motion by Wanda, second by Ryan to approve claims.
For discussion with the, we're still using MPR Smith for the workman's comp. We're not using the public insurance line.
They
So-
don't have.
Okay, that's all I had. For claims too, under commissioner funds for the Boys and Girls Club, I have written in my budget book that we approved 10,000 this year. Not 35,
Not how many?
not 35. So that's what I had written down.
Check.
35,000 or 10,000?
I have written that last year we gave 35. This year I have written down that we have 10.
Did 10,000 next year.
Okay.
This year we approved
But,
10,000
but
for
is,
next year.
is this,
$35, 35 lollipops?
Yeah, this year.
35,000. So is this last year's 35 or is
Yeah,
this
this is
going
last
out?
year's 35.
Okay, that was my question. Then I'm fine with it.
All in favor, further discussion? All,
Aye.
hearing no more. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
This is an abatement of a special assessment because the parcel does not exist anymore.
I guess I'd move to approve that.
Second.
Motion by Wanda, second by Ryan to approve the abatement. All in favor, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And these are budget supplements, which will do, the January 6th meeting, before we end the year. That's for the E911, the 500,000. And the rate of 151,000. Because we just got a bill for one township for 99,000
You just got a bill for what?
that we're paying this time. For the rate for a township.
It's
Oh,
the Rural
okay, okay.
Access
Got it.
Infrastructure Fund.
Mhm.
And Patty, when are all the funds from RAFE expended? Is it this year or is it like next year? Or it's coming to an end real soon? isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
Mike's getting them, because there's a couple townships that haven't done anything yet, so we have, he's gonna get that all up.
And while we're on that topic, the highway liaisons, Patty, if that money can also be utilized by the unorganized townships under Mike, correct? From under Mike, so
Yeah,
rather
Mike has-
rather than that money go back to the state, that's where we should be utilizing it at. And you need a vote on this, I assume?
Yep.
Did you have a motion yet? Ms.
I don't have a motion. I need a motion.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
by Dan, second by Don to advertise. Yes, for budget supplement,
I don't think
To approve rate fund.
to approve the,
Ties.
To
to
advertise.
advertise.
to
And then that's
advertise for a budget supplement.
is that to approve the rate funding?
No,
Okay.
they're both such,
Okay.
supplements.
Got it.
All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Because we have the cash in those funds, it's just we don't have budget.
Now's the time for public comment. Anyone have public comment? Seeing, hearing none, public comment is closed. Commissioner updates.
You guys want to start?
Children are still bad.
Before the year's out, we'll be doing some interviews for the new extension agent, so.
Good deal.
Got some
Okay.
applications?
Yes, and we'll do interviews right before New Year's, so.
Good. Anything else, Don?
I have nothing.
I got a couple things. I got you guys this packet right here. NACO has a bunch of different programs, some of which were already involved in, some which we aren't. They do have an interesting one that I think would fall right in well with the financial task force. It's called a liquidity management platform. And what that does is it looks at the county revenue sources and maximizes how and the interest rate those funds are getting. We're already a member of this program. I think it would be great to utilize this. I actually talked to one of the individuals who runs this, and he's saved certain counties millions of dollars. From what I understand, it's low cost, if not free, and I don't know why we wouldn't look into something like that. So is there any issue if we look into the 3+1 program?
Well, I have a question.
Yep.
Is there any rule or regulation against us passing a motion that the department heads will move their funds to competitive interest-bearing accounts?
We could put it on the agenda for first one in January, though.
What I would do is.
I think we can stagger them so that to make sure that there's always money on interest, always money coming out.
I think this guy right here would be good to contact because that's what he does. And, you know, for example, the city wanted us like that $500 to automatically withdraw. If we looked at codified law, that $500,000, we could be generating serious revenue off of that and then disperse the money that we're allowed. And that's what this guy specializes in. And so,
I don't think we need to specialize in it. I think we just need to take the money, put it on interest, and then it can come out and they can get paid in increments. Because the city gets sales tax money and we do not.
This is from the National Association of County, and that's what they specialize in. I'd say, look into this guy and see what he has to say. He's willing to do a Zoom meeting and look at it, and that's what he does every day for counties across the nation. So,
but we've talked about this and talked about it and talked about it with that guy from Pier, and he said we can do it, yet nothing happens.
do you want to do a meeting with this guy and myself via Zoom, Wanda?
No, I don't. I just want to move the money to interest. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I've talked about it for 3 years. I'm tired of talking about it. All talked out. Move to adjourn.
We have executive session? Nope.
No executive session.
Motion by
I'll
Wanda,
second Wanda's motion.
second Dan. All in favor to adjourn? Aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries.